What's
What's
up, everybody? Francisco, Rhymar, how's it going?
What's that?
Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Big news today. I think this is Rhymar's last stream from Florida.
Ever. No.
I don't know about ever.
What's up, everyone?
I think you made it public, right? That you're moving
Yeah.
to
We
Cali?
told everyone on
Okay.
X. This weekend is like hanging with the homies for one last weekend. My mom's in town, so we're doing a little bit of just celebrating and packing and last minute stuff, but excited for the next phase, which is landing in Foster City and maybe doubling down on all these streams a little bit.
Definitely a loss for Florida. You've been huge in that community, dude. I know like everybody there is super appreciative of what you built. Loss for Florida, but a big leveling up for Foster City, San Francisco area, Bay Area. I'm super excited about what you're going to be doing there, dude. It's going to be great.
Yep. Stay tuned, community. We got lots of tricks up our sleeves, and this is a big transition for me, but I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't really believe in this product. So it's kind of crazy to be coming from a user, 16, 18 months, a power user, 16, 18 months ago to now, kind of being involved in all this. So super exciting, and thrilled to share the journey with all you also. So stay tuned. We're going to share a little bit of that as I go. So
Rhymar's all in.
I'm selfishly very excited to be sitting next to Rhymar out here. We're just very, very stoked. I think there's going to be a lot more coming up. We were able to spend, was it last week? It feels like a month ago. We were at SaaStr together, and it was just like a very fun time getting together with the entire team and being able to kind of just jam in person. So we're super lucky to be having Rhymar out here. And again, like it'll be a great opportunity to be able to meet with the community in person as well. I see a lot of folks coming in here, KG, Kaiser, Epic. I don't know if Angelina's on. She might be traveling.
Cloud the Boy.
KCT
There's a bunch of
Tech.
there's a bunch of folks out there. And part of what we're going to do is not just like the events locally, but help you host events, right? Like how do we build, Manny, you mentioned some of the stuff we've done locally here. Like we've had a lot of growth in our local meetup. I've been planning meetups for lots of times. I know community's growing quite a bit. Like how can we seed some stuff out there, but also how can we help you all seed? You have been talking about, meetups and how do you all get involved? So again, it's all just going to tie together. Just give us a little bit of time to string these things together.
Absolutely. We're putting together a lot of resources right now for the community hub, internally and externally. So I think I can confidently announce that next week, by our next stream on Friday at the very latest, we'll actually be opening up the final application for our ambassador program. For a couple of folks that already applied for more information, you'll be getting an email, so you're able to basically fill it all out, and then we're going to be going on and onboarding a cohort in early June. And that'll be like a very large cohort, and then from there on out, we'll be doing on some every other month. And again, the community is thriving. There was an event in London yesterday. Amjad was also in London, or currently in London this week. I saw a couple different photos with other.
I saw a photo with
Always
Ruth and
representing.
Amjad. Did you see that photo with Ruth and Amjad?
Oh, it's so great. Yeah, it's so great. So.
But I thought it's like two legends meet.
She better not be missing a stream though. I mean, I know it's Amjad. Like, come on, you better like have the phone on the side, Ruth. Let's get serious here.
Tune in with Amjad there. Have him comment.
That's right.
Exactly. So. Just a lot of open stuff. But yeah, Dino, I see in the chat next week. So next week, the full applications will open up. You can still go to the community hub today and then submit your interest for more information. So you're just going to be the first person to get the email when the full application opens up as well. So great time to be able to join. Again, as Rhymar mentioned, I'm like working on all different infrastructure on the back end to make sure we're able to support your in-person events, online events. We're also trying to invest a little bit more in Reddit in general, just to make sure we're going to be able to engage folks there. And of course, Discord. A huge shout out to Rhymar for all the amazing things going on there.
And KG,
and there's
by
a
the
lot
way,
more coming.
KG's been killing it in Discord.
Yeah.
I even see you getting a little more involved. So
trying to get in
Discord's just going to become more and more of like the daily, like quick little updates and stuff like that. This product's moving so fast. That's why these live streams are so important. I think live streams is like one of the only mediums that can kind of keep up with the speed of the whole AI industry right now. And then having like that real-time chat and having that surface area for the community is really useful. It can be a little hectic in there. I know, folks, it can get a little crazy because the chats come in so quickly. And so, but it's been cool to see the connections. And hey, Ruth is in the chat. Just
Ruth.
Let's go,
We were
Ruth.
just talking about it.
Yeah, London and
Saw your
Ruth.
photo
Everybody's
with
in
London.
the hat.
Yeah.
Saw your
Huge shout out
photo
to
with Amjad, Ruth. Congrats. Telling you, Ruth is she's famous now.
Well,
She's
and to
cool for us
just some of you are like, hey, well, you keep keep teasing the ambassador stuff. We're like, hey, look, we're eating our own dog food here, and we're like building all this stuff internally, you know? So like, we want to just make sure it's right as we bring all the folks in. And yeah, just again, bear with us. It's going to be good. Life is moving at AI speed, Replit speed. We talk about it's like dog years a little bit. Replit speed sometimes internally, but anyway, yeah.
And I would say, don't wait to apply to be an ambassador. Like, act like you're already an ambassador.
Yeah,
A shout out to
please.
Emmanuel Perez. He hosted a hackathon at Norfolk University. Check out my recent tweet, Emmanuel. He just like hosted a meetup, went there, taught a couple of students there how to use Replit, how to think about AI, posted it, loved it, man. That's great. That's the kind of stuff that you should be doing.
Yeah.
That's super helpful.
T out of Singapore, did also a build-a-thon. Literally, we announced the build-a-thon, and then 2 days later, she somehow tracked down my emails. Like, hey, can you help me support? Of course you can. Sent me photos. They printed out a big check for the winner. It was an incredible time. So yeah, the best way to stand out for the ambassador application is just by either being a part of our community here, always showing up to our live streams, and of course, building out and kind of hosting your own communities as well is absolutely an amazing way to kind of run it. But I know we have a big stack coming up today, and there's a lot going on. So I'm gonna quit rambling on my side over here. I know you have a lot, Manny.
Let's go. We got a stack show. We got so much to get to, but first, we got to talk about this week in Replit. Another big week. I feel like we always say this, but things move so fast here, man. Always shipping here. Update number 1 is now Enterprise is self-service. So previously, if you wanted to leverage Replit for your company, large organization, you'd have to talk to a sales rep. It'd be kind of a long process, but we're just seeing so much inbound demand around folks wanting Replit in their business, in their organizations, that we have now made this self-service. So you can just go on to Replit, you answer a couple of questions. I don't even know if you answer a couple of questions. You put in your email, you set up your account, you list the number of credits that you want for your team, and you're up and running with our full suite of enterprise features in minutes. So long time coming. I know people are going to really love this.
That's a big deal. Very few companies do this. It's one of those things that, again, I think Replit is leading on, not just like we talk about eating our own dog food, but this is an opportunity for folks to just kind of come and self-serve their needs at a higher level. And that doesn't mean you can't talk to enterprise if you want to, but yeah, it's just, again, super cool to see Replit leading the charge with this type of thing.
And also, I'll say, like, for all of you that are building with Replit on your side projects, you're going to be surprised by how valuable that's going to be within the organization very, very soon. At SaaStr, that was the key theme. Vibe coding is going enterprise, vibe coding is going pro. So it's only a matter of time before you're doing more and more of that in your day-to-day work. So keep cranking on that. Okay, update number 2 is that now you can earn Replit credits when you monetize with Stripe. It's a huge deal. Stripe has been one of our biggest connectors, allows you to add monetization to your apps. Really, really fun. And then build out different ways to monetize your products and services within your application, all through Agent. Has been one of our most popular connectors. And now as you earn with your app, you get credits, Replit credits on those earnings as well. That's a huge deal. So people are going to really love that. Love to hear in the chat how many of you have already monetized with Stripe, and make sure you look out for those credits. Going to be backdated to May 1st. Related, Amjad dropped a podcast with Patrick Collison, the founder of Stripe. I think the big sort of headline for me here is that new business creation on Stripe is up 2x over the last 12 months. And so I think what we're seeing is that business creation with tools like Replit, with our integration with Stripe, are just making it so much easier for folks to start their business. We're going to talk to Elias a little bit later on today. He built something over the weekend for our build-a-thon, Replit 10 build-a-thon. He got it monetized. He's earning money on that. That happened in 2 days. So not surprised to see this, but it's really nice to get some validation from someone like Patrick over at Stripe.
Well, and I think this leans into the trend we've talked about a handful of times, that sure, you can build now, but the moat is getting out there, building a business, generating revenue. It's like the impact of not just building, but taking the thing to market. And I think you're seeing that kind of manifest itself in the connections, the partnerships, and the way the company leans. It's like, hey, you can't just build it's not just about building a toy or a prototype on Replit. It's about taking this thing to market. It's about changing your career trajectory. It's about opening up the productivity of your agency or business or enterprise or whatever it is at a scale that, like, you can't really imagine right now. And so I think you're going to start seeing a lot more of this that pushes in that direction as we go.
Totally. Definitely check out that conversation. I think this is one of a new series that I'm just going to be rolling out. So look out for that. All right. Another big week in recognition. Replit got listed as one of the top 50 disruptors in tech by CNBC. So always nice to be on these lists. Pretty cool. And then also Microsoft listed us as number 2 of startups to watch in 2026. So just some nice to get some validation from some folks like CNBC and Microsoft. And I think just all credit goes to our community and our builders out there that are showing what they're building and using our product, giving us feedback and helping us get better. So just wanted to call out a couple of those recognitions, which is kind of always nice to mention. Here's a big win here. Let's go. Big congrats to Elias. Elias, it was one of our honorable mentions in our Replit 10 Build-a-thon that we hosted a couple of weeks back. His app got recognized as the fastest growing startup on this platform called Unicorn. And if you're unfamiliar with Unicorn, it essentially tracks different startups and companies that and their monetization, and it validates their monetization via Stripe and via Revenue Cat. Via another service called Trust MRR. But anyhow, he got listed. He was like number 1 on the leaderboard for like a couple of hours last week. I think it's like, or yesterday, and it's a pretty fast movie. So I think he's like dropped off like number 1 spot. But still, the fact that he hit number 1 for that, even that period, huge deal. So big shout out to Elias. Great job. And Elias is going to be joining us a little bit later in the show today to talk to us about what he built, his journey. And he actually mentioned to me that he was doing a number of different growth tactics on TikTok and other social media platforms. And that's what's really propelled a lot of his growth. So again, we're coming back to this notion that it's not enough to build. You also have to go out. You have to go and distribute. You have to go and get eyeballs on your application. That's ultimately going to lead to growth and to the monetization that Elias is seeing here. So super pumped to be talking to Elias a little bit later today.
There's a couple of, a lot of our winners actually have been going out and, getting partnerships. A big shout out to Sean, who I think recently also got a big partnership and coming out of the build-a-thon. A lot of folks just kind of took their project to the next level during the 24-hour build-a-thon that we had and just really maximize those credits, which are just amazing to see. And that's really what it's all about, right? So keep an eye out for more opportunities to kind of get out there and build. But again, a huge congratulations to everyone that's been growing with Replit.
Yeah. And also shout out to the folks who are getting better at regularly kind of posting about this stuff, right? There's like a cohort, like there's a strong cohort of the folks that were participating in that build-a-thon or that are coming from Discord also that are kind of getting and rallying around each other. And so there's a little bit of traction building on both LinkedIn and X, and I'm sure on other platforms as well, but that's kind of like where, we're most active too. So we kind of tend to see it more there. And so it's cool. You can kind of see the momentum building in the community and other channels too. So I would encourage you all to get involved in that, because 6 months from now, those relationships, those connections, that little bit of amplification on X and LinkedIn is going to be very valuable. And I can just, see it percolating around the edges. And I've seen this brewing. So just take my word for it that this is a wave that's coming and you should figure out how to like start surfing this thing.
Let's go. Okay, so Stack Show today, we're going to be talking to Alex on our security team about all of the great security products that have been rolling out. He's going to answer all of his questions. We're going to go through a couple of those products. We have Fahd Butt joining us to talk about connectors. I love connectors. I think connectors are so underappreciated. And then we also have Elias joining us a little bit later as well to talk about his application and how he's growing and getting eyeballs on his application. So with that, I think Francisco, you're going to log off. I think you're going to be in the back checking out some of the comments. Thank you so much, Francisco. And let's bring on our first guest to the stage.
Hello. Hi, Rhymar. Hi, Monty. How you doing?
Hey, Alex. How's it going?
I'm doing great. Calling from Foster City. Happy to be here.
I like it. We were just backstage and we were mentioning that you're ready for the summer. You're ready for a weekend.
I sure am.
Alex, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I work on the product team here at Replit. The thing I'm thinking a ton about and I'm super excited by, agents have gotten so good at building your apps in Replit, but as a lot of the people here in chat probably know, when you hit that publish button, now you got some responsibility. You have an app that's out in the world. Maybe you want to turn that thing into a business. And there's just so much that agents can do to help you support with that part of your building journey as well. So a lot of where I'm at and what I'm excited to talk about is just how products like Replit can get closer to being like your full service engineering team. And in the announcements that you just presented, like hearing the story of like how much easier it is to collect payments and build apps with payments, it's just so much easier than years ago. That gets me really excited. And you know what? One thing that's really important to have for apps that are collecting payments, secure apps.
Security.
So exactly. So excited to talk more about that and all the work that we're doing around security product and how we're thinking about that more broadly.
Alex, can you just you just said how you're thinking about that more broadly. Can you maybe just give us a little intro as to like maybe you personally and then how the team is starting to look at this, or how you have been looking at this, and maybe how you're kind of seeing it evolve? I don't know, like maybe whatever your grounding on this is as the team looks at what's happening in the security space and the vibe coding space right now.
Yeah. So you've probably heard about this a lot. Replit, where we think of ourselves as an agent lab, and what's happened in the last 6 to 12 months is agents have gotten so much better. The team behind the scenes has had these ideas, kind of these dreams for like a long time of like, oh, what if agent could lead a investigation of how attackers could take advantage of your app and use that to sort of explore what proactive measures should be put in place. And we've had these features sort of behind the scenes, these explorations, they never quite there. And then in January, February this year, with sort of the new like Opus 4.6 level of models that has come live, these reasoning models, agents have really kind of like jumped to the next level, and has made it so some of those early explorations and ideas are really ready to see the limelight in production. And that's some of like what we're excited to talk about today. I think the other thing that's come with those models, and I'm sure we'll have plenty of time to talk about in the show, is it's everyone who has access to them. And that means there's real risks that come with that, everyone who's building apps seriously with AI needs to keep in mind, whether it's their first time or they're experienced builders.
Yeah, we talk a lot about the unknown unknowns, and there's a lot of people who are entering the vibe code space who don't really like understand fully the implications of sometimes what they're building. And so that's one of the reasons we like to have folks like you on, and why these streams I think become so valuable, because we're doing this thing of like building this bridge between the non-technical folks who are really excited about these new opportunities that are kind of popping up all around them, and then the real risks as you start to build your business, as you start to accept credit cards and payments and personally identifiable information from users across the internet. And so, yeah, these are really relevant conversations for all of this.
On that note, I think we should hop into a couple of these products that we've rolled out. Let me bring up my screen. And then I'll provide some high level framing. As I was doing some research for this, Alex, I think this is how it kind of like made sense to me. We have products and services for each part of the life cycle for you as a new builder. So when you're getting ready to build something or ship something, before you ship, we have security agent that's going to do an audit of your code, give you some suggestions in terms of what to fix. Then when you go to ship, if you want to think about which people have access to that application, now we have private publishing, but then that will lock out certain services. So to support that, we have external access tokens. And then once your app is live and you want to just take have a bird's eye view of that app and other apps in Replit, we have the Security Center version 2 that we've rolled out. And then when you're not on Replit and you still want to make sure that you're being covered, we have Auto Protect now that watches your apps 24/7. So that's the high level framing that made sense to me. Happy to hear your thoughts on that. And then I'm happy to like jump into Security Agent and start walking through some of this and playing around with this and showing folks how to use them.
Yeah, that's a great way of breaking it down. I think like as I talk to customers and sort of we've announced all these launches, some of the reaction that I've gotten is like, wow, this is so much stuff. How can I keep up? And I think like, it's good to call out. We're going to talk through all these features. They're really powerful and talk about how you can best leverage them. But behind the scenes, something that we're thinking about a ton too is how can we make it so someone who doesn't click on any of these.
Whoa.
Alex,
all right,
that's
I'm
my
back.
mistake.
Don't worry about it.
Sorry about that. Please take it from the top. How can someone think who isn't clicking on these? How can they think about security?
Yeah, I think like I guess wanted to add that in addition to that list, we're thinking a lot behind the scenes of how we can make it so when agent builds an app, it's just more secure by default. So there's a lot of like technical things we can do. from how, the instruction set the agent follows is, how we apply code review to the code that's built. And there's much more coming. But I just wanted to also flag this is an area that's like super important to us, because the moment you add things that you can click in an app, like everyone these days is writing directly to the agent in the chat and then they're hitting publish. So we need to make sure that we cover that too.
That's a good point. So we have surfaces and different features to keep you secure, but eventually we want to make that more automatic, so that you just, if it's a prompt or just agent does it automatically, it just like starts removing more and more of that for you as a builder.
Exactly.
Well, and it's something like I've done the security scan sometimes and it'll like flag all these issues, and then like I don't know sometimes, is this a real issue or is this like intended to be there? Because sometimes you need some things to like work a certain way, and maybe that, I don't know, right? Is it always like a real security vulnerability, or is this just something to like, you should know, hey, there's a surface here that could open something up? And so like I think that's one of the things you're talking about, where it's like, can we make those decisions easier for the user so that they don't have to think as much about that? But there's like so many places that can like be exposed. So how do you guys think about that? Like, what do you like, as you're talking about that, like, hey, we want the agent to kind of like remove some of these decision points for the user. Like, how do you approach that with such a big potential surface area?
Yeah, I can talk through like 3 kind of different categories. This is simplified, of course, but a way to think about like what different types of security do I need to consider. I think the first that we'll talk about, or that I'll highlight, is like dependencies. So when you build an app, it's bringing in a bunch of libraries that are used to power the app, how it processes data, how it shows things to the user, etc. Those dependencies, you're suddenly bringing in code from a bunch of places that were written by other people. And that's like one of the main ways that apps become vulnerable. It's through those dependencies. So that's one way to think about security, is through the dependencies that your app requires. So we do a ton there. The next, Rhymar, which I think you're flagging, which is really interesting, is when the business logic of your app, what you're actually trying to do, might start to introduce attack vectors that need to be considered. And that's an area called application security, which is also really relevant. And then finally, in the third section, there's what I would call privacy, which is like security. And this relates to like how you treat the data that you're collecting. Are you doing good by the people who are using your app and potentially giving you their personal information, making sure that they are remaining secure, their stuff isn't getting leaked to people. And that's a final area called, I like to think of like privacy security as well. So that's like maybe 3 like high level ways to think of different categories of things that you want to think about when you're building and maintaining an app.
I love it. With that, let's get into some demos here and walk through people through some of these products here. Okay, let me share this tab here. Okay, so I'm here, like, again, so like the idea here is like I'm building this application and I want to take a moment to pause and check whether or not my app is secure, if there's anything that I should fix. And so here I can go to the security center and select our run with scan with agent, and this is going to activate the agent security scan and run that on this particular application. So what's happening here, Alex, for everybody?
Yeah, so what we're doing here is we're spinning up a brand new agent behind the scene called Security Agent, which has its own set of instructions, and its job is to and what's in the industry called a threat model, which loosely means look at your app, look at what it's intended to do, simulate how attackers might be able to take advantage of the functionality of your app to do nefarious things, and then proactively build out measures to prevent those attack vectors from being exploited. So this is something, kind of going back to what I was talking about earlier, is something that's really, really, really good now with these reasoning models. Because we were basically able to fan out, look at a bunch of different parts of the code at once, consider the logic of what the user's trying to do, all the context you've submitted to chat so far in terms of what you're looking to accomplish, and use that to propose different levels of vulnerabilities for you to go take on. There's a few, like, go ahead.
Yeah, how often should someone be doing this? So like, should I do it like after every like chat, or every day, or every 2 days, or like maybe do I just have to do it before I ship?
Yeah, that's a really important question. And as you'll see here, like it's gonna run for a while. Like we're like this is meant to stand up. Like, if I was to describe the North Star as like, how can we get this as close to a pen test, which is a service you might pay a third party for that costs thousands of dollars to go investigate all the ways in which someone could take advantage of your app.
And pen
Now,
is short for penetration, right? So folks who may not be familiar with security lingo, a pen test is like a penetration test, right? And so it's like basically you hire security companies, and they basically try to do this, right? Like what a hacker might do, but they're trying to do it before you publish and go out to the real world and expose this stuff. And so when you're talking about that, you're saying this is basically the agent trying to do some of those things kind of in an automated way, right?
Exactly. And you'll see this, like for some apps might take like 5, but sometimes maybe 15 or 20 minutes, just depending on the complexity of your app. So the question you're asking is super important. How often do I do this? Generally, I would say before publish for a medium complexity app is important. And then we've actually added a feature to kind of make up for that. You see how there's a drop down here. You can't run it now because the scan is in progress. But if you click that, you can actually check a box to say like run since last scan, which will focus on, say you add a new major feature, running a scan that's more focused on the new application logic that you've introduced since the last time you run a scan. So it's not re-scanning a bunch of stuff that you've potentially already looked at before.
So I think probably the right use case for this is to just do this as you go, or at every like major milestone, or at some level as you're building alongside. So you're not waiting till you're like 3 months into building some major complicated thing, and then the agent has to like ingest all of that as context every single time, or like at least at one go, rather than kind of building on top of making sure everything you're building is kind of secure as you go, right?
Yep.
Would that be a good assumption for folks?
I think for me, it's going to be like, okay, like I'm going to work for 3 hours. I'm going to walk away from my machine for lunch or something. Let me run the security agent and then like come back and see if like anything needs to be fixed.
Yeah, exactly. That's I think more the direction. I'm seeing a lot of questions in chat around cost. This is super relevant. So let's just hit it nail on the head, right? What we've seen internally is obviously agent is the one that's kind of examining and making its own assessment of how important, how broad it needs to go to make a come to good conclusions. But for medium-sized applications, we'll see the cost typically range between less than $10, more in like the closer to $5 range. This is using some of our stronger models, so that's worth keeping in mind. But it do want to caution you if you have a massive app, but at this point, typically you've probably spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars building it out. Then it actually does become important to have a more kind of deep, comprehensive scan, which is what this is looking to accomplish.
Well, but as you alluded to,
just with the credits, like we have to reframe this all the time when we talk about usage based, that like to spend $10 to run something like this, like you might have to hire some pen testers and pay them thousands of dollars to do this. And you might still want to do that if you hit a certain scale, And so like we have to frame these things as like, it's expensive. Sometimes it's to spend $10, $20, $50 on a feature set or a chunk, or hundreds, or maybe even $1,000 on like a full application over the course of weeks or a month. But we always have to reframe that the costs are relative to like what it might cost to get this stuff done by, other entities or available paths now. And so, yes, just keep that in mind, folks.
You nailed it. I think, maybe like 3 months ago, you'd have to outsource this, thousands of dollars, probably a couple of weeks. I don't know how fast is the turnaround is if you're going externally, but here it's happening in minutes and it's $5. I mean, that's a really good deal.
There you go. Work for 4 minutes. Let's see what it costs.
Okay, let's see here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hit save, right?
Yeah, you can hit save. I think this is also the place where you can like basically review the findings from the model. And yeah, here you go. It costs much less than
so 60 cents to find all of the issues. And then if I want to fix all of them, I can just click on this and then it'll go to work. Do I have to then go here and check anything here, or
it's all synced up?
Oh, nice, perfect.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Okay. Very deep.
And somebody
and there's a few like gotchas here that I think like we capture for like first time builders especially, but even experienced builders, right? When you have a published app, if you make security fixes, you got to remember to republish it for those to go into effect. So part of the reason why we have this flow here is to really show, well, one, allow this work to be done in parallel using our new task systems, which you're seeing is heavily in use here, but also to nudge people to do things like republish.
Alex, somebody's asking something here that I think is a relevant question that ties back to something you said earlier. You're saying we need is saying, can't the agent security be built into the projects? And I think that's what you're talking about. Eventually this will get to where, as the agent's building, it's taking security more and more into account, and this will kind of happen. And this is where I think we're headed. But for right now, I think the models are just kind of getting to the point where they have enough context to go in and properly see and analyze this stuff. And so maybe you can anchor, what that looks like. I know you probably can't, tell us what, when or where or how this is going to go, but I think this ties back to what you were talking about before about trying to kind of unify this experience and remove some of those decisions from the user. So maybe you can speak to that. Yeah,
there's a lot more coming. But if I was to speak about it at a general level, when you're asking agent to build something, you're more thinking at the task level or the small feature level. What we want to do is make the security of that feature or that task, have agent take that seriously. But imagine if you build, 50 different features that interact with each other in kind of different ways. Well, you're also going to need agent to look comprehensively at how all these things work together in sort of the bigger picture and see if there's new security vulnerabilities that have or attack vectors that have opened themselves up from that. Also, agent is, more focused when you're asking it to build something on how to build that thing. Security is important, but primarily it's helping you build a thing. Here, the agent isn't helping you build anything. It's purely modeling different attack vectors, which just allows AI to come up with a different set of findings. One other thing I haven't talked about yet, but I think is key to this working and not costing a ton of money, and it also relates to how the industry more broadly is evolving, is security companies too have been realizing that, especially ones that are around before AI, I think SemGrep, one that we partner with a lot, they have APIs that are deterministic, that do things like static code analysis. But something really powerful happens when you combine those static code analysis tools with these reasoning models. You can basically expose them as tools, make it, and this is something that we've experimented with and found great results with, make it so your agent calls out to these services and uses the finding from static code analysis APIs, for example, to kind of jumpstart the process or give it more context. So effectively reducing the cost, reducing the number of false positives and things like that. Yeah.
Nice.
Very neat. No, good call out.
It's going to be interesting to see how these things evolve, because I think they're just going to interweave with each other, right? If we think about the jump from agent 2 to agent 3 or agent 3 to agent 4, and you see kind of these big leaps, the harness is getting more powerful. But also a lot of times we talk about building into the evolution of these models, and these LLMs are also getting more powerful. So I think as these different models come into play, how they get kind of integrated and how that handoff happens, and how different pieces of it are looking at what you build. I can imagine there will be a big use case for the security scans after, but also during the process, also checking and making sure that what it's building is kind of using the best standards for security and all these other things as it goes. But all that requires more context and more background, and more work.
Perfect. And it looks like all of my issues have been resolved here.
How much did it cost? They're going to ask.
Well, see, okay, no, don't roll back, but is it not given to me in the checkpoint?
Oh, it didn't say how much it worked.
Doesn't drop it in here, huh? Okay.
That's it. It's free for everyone. It's like the grocery store when you check out and the price doesn't come up, right? I'm kidding.
That was 7 months ago. Okay, so
I can look into this. I think what's happening here is because it's working in a task, the dollars are showing up in the task view, and when you merge the task back to main, it might not be showing up. But that's something I can work with the team on.
Okay, perfect. I want to talk about automatic dependency scanning, but I think first let's talk about private deployments, because that's next kind of in my life cycle. So before you ship, you're running agent security and you're spotting these and you're fixing this. Now you're ready to ship and you want to keep this secure. We now have an option that is available to core plan members and also starter plan members. That's a free plan where you can publish this privately. So essentially, this is just get publishing and only granting access to people that you specifically designate. And for this, they have to have a Replit account. Is that fair, Alex?
Yes. Well, yes, that's correct. For the private, it is looking at people with a Replit account. And the way you would add people is through the invite button on the top left. A bit of how this works is when you run it on private, there's basically a box around your app that Replit controls that blocks requests that are not authenticated by having the user already logged into Replit. So this is just a kind of comprehensive, pretty simple way to make sure no one from the outside internet can access anything that I'm building, which is nice, because say if you're building something that's useful for you and a couple people in your family, you don't necessarily want to put it out into the world. Well, you shouldn't have to be forced to do that.
Yeah, if you're building apps for a client, just be great to like, here's the app. I put you on the list. You're good. Just me and you sharing things before we go public with anything.
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe we should explain a little of the use cases for that, like internal tools, things that you're building for, let's say, an enterprise, or like Manny just said, a client, or you want things to review before you send them public to the world, so you can like test them live, but only at like the people you invite, just like you do with like Apple Test Flight. We've talked about that in previous streams. And so, there's a ton of use cases why you might want a private deployment. One question that comes to mind for me is, if we're blocking requests, if I have a private deployment, how does that work with like things like webhooks or some of the connectors or any other like little services that I might have? Will those still be able to talk to the site in a private deployment or no?
Yeah, that's a really important question. A lot of our connectors push data, so that's fine because the request is originating from your app. But say when you want an outside app to push data to Replit, say last night I was working on a private app where I wanted Linear to push some data into my Replit app live with a webhook. We've built a feature around this. So previously, the state of the world was, if you want an outside app to send data to Replit, you had to make it public, which is not good. What we added is a feature called external access tokens. So once this app here is published, if it's a private app, you'll see it under adjust settings. And basically, this is a way to omit the URL and with the parameter that's required to get through the box I described earlier that checks if you are logged in with a Replit account, to effectively make for this request from Linear to make it all the way to the API that you've created to say, hey, this ticket has been updated to now this status. Very specific example, but that's a little bit of what it does behind the scenes.
Yeah. I think it's important for people to know and think about that stuff, right? Like, yeah. And it's smart that we're thinking about it, right?
Yeah. Well, the big example for me is like, if I have an app deployed and I want to keep it private, I wanted to talk to my Slack or my company Slack. And so now we'll see in a moment that I'll be able to create those access tokens and use those tokens to set up that Slack integration. And so my app is still private, but Slack is still able to transmit information back and forth to my application.
Yeah, I'm seeing some questions in chat here relating as we're publishing. There's a thing here that says security scan. And I think some of the questions might be like, what is that? How does that compare to what we were just talking about? So I want to hit on that real quick. And what that is, when you see security scan there, that's a dependency scan. So we do check when you are publishing at publish time what dependencies have been put into your application. And it's an additional way to verify that you aren't publishing something with a vulnerable dependency that you're not intending to. And Manny, I see you have it pulled up here. One of my favorite settings, if I was to give one tip of thing to turn on, is when you scroll down here a little bit further to the security section, there's a thing called block publishing of critical vulnerabilities. If I was to give one piece of advice to people in that chat, go to your project, turn that on. Effectively, when you hit publish, if there's a critical vulnerability, it will say stop, go fix it. And this is something that a lot of our larger customers have turned on by default, and you can actually enforce this across all projects in your app. But for folks who are seeing this now, this is, I think, like the one kind of like up level if you don't have this on to make your apps more secure.
Very cool. And so just to orient everybody, so once my app was published, I got this, and then I go to adjust settings, and this is again a privately deployed application, and I scroll down and I'll hit block publishing critical vulnerabilities. And then the external access token that we were just talking about a moment ago, that's here. Just create this access token, give it a name, test. You can change the environment, expiration, create access token. I save my token. It's good. Now you can, those are going to be the credentials that you're going to be sharing with your integrations. Let me go ahead and delete that. Very neat.
So,
okay.
So when you say that, then you just have to make sure that agent or the external connection has those tokens, right?
Yeah, when you set up the webhook, you would actually add the query parameter in the other product you've set up.
Right.
Very neat. Okay, cool. Awesome. Let's talk about Security Center. So, like, this is on a one app basis. So I'm working an app, I'm publishing an app, but many of you have a dozen apps in Replit. So how do you keep track of all of these? Well, now we have an updated Security Center. So if I go back home and I go to security.
Yeah, there was a question I think I saw in chat or in some of the pre-show notes of like, why isn't this just a scan? Why are there 5 things here? And this is like part of the answer. If you have one project, it is just a scan. But if you have 10 projects or 20 projects, then it might not be. If you have 10 people who are publishing across those 20 projects, and it certainly isn't. We have people with thousands of projects, and this is where we're starting to talk about things like the security center. That becomes highly relevant.
Yeah. Especially if you're admin or you're an IT person at an organization, you're like the one admin person, but you might have like 100 builders that you're looking over. You come here to the security center, you can see all of the vulnerabilities across all the different apps. And I also think that you can take bulk actions here as well, right? Like you can automatically update everybody's apps on your workspace. Is that fair, Alex?
Yeah, you can. So let me talk through this a bit. The use case for this is, say you work at a company. What we found often is those who are in charge of Replit projects they sit in a different team than the security team. Security team might ping you saying, "Hey, there's a new vulnerability. It's critical. How are our Replit apps?" Well, you should be able to go and quickly see, do I have any published projects that are public with critical vulnerabilities? And then sort of work your way through that. That's what the top dashboard is meant to do here. It's just like in level of urgency, show you where you lack coverage and what you need to do. Then you got some filters. And for the table, you're actually going to want to scroll a little bit to the right. I think we're zoomed in a bit. But what you'll see is the action buttons are all here. And you can quickly just kind of go through your, I was actually working with a customer on updating, I think it was 500 different projects. Wow. Sort of all at once in the security view here. Just hitting sort of fix with agent. And then this will update as the tasks you just saw behind the scene progress. You'll be able to apply changes and then finally republish just from here.
Well, and I think it's useful for folks in the audience who maybe work on different size teams or are solo and maybe don't have exposure to like working with some of these like security requirements or enterprise guardrails or some of the things that might be required for an agency or again a business or enterprise that wants to build on these things. Like you said, thousands of projects and hundreds of people potentially building. Even if it's a handful of people building, like I know the amount of projects that I kind of create personally, and so like it just again creates this massive surface area. And a lot of times I know I don't really think about this and didn't really think about this until I started working with bigger companies. Is some of those requirements are very different if you're like a solo builder versus like an enterprise with hundreds or thousands of people. And so this product really has to scale between all of those use cases. And so that's why some of you might be watching this and thinking like, hey, what would the need be for some of this? And so just helping you frame that there's a lot of different use cases that we have to account for, especially as it comes to security like this. So like you said, we have to have this high level view so that the admin can kind of see all that, and then at a per project level and then a per user level. And so that gets lots of stuff to take into account. That's why I opened the show. Like, how do you think about this with so many like surface areas?
For sure, especially as many of our folks on the stream, they're going to go on into their company and they're going to be the vibe coding expert, the pro. So you're going to be like the admin on some of these accounts. So it's good that you're familiar with these tools. Somebody mentioned in the chat, Alex, that they don't have access to the security tab. Is this available to everybody or is it just on paid plans?
I can go verify. The intent here is that everyone has access to this.
Oh, okay. So yeah, Joey, put in a ticket, please. Yeah, let us know. Whatever plan you have, you should have access to the security tab.
I wonder if are you in an enterprise workspace here by chance, rather than like a individual workspace?
Nope. This is a core plan. Okay. My test account. So yeah, no, you should have access to. Joey, drop that ticket for us, and we'll look into it. Awesome. Anything else here to talk about on the security center? I think this is really cool. Like I ran this on my enterprise plan, and I had like a whole bunch of different projects and a whole bunch of different securities to go through. And I so I wanted to show that, but I thought maybe a little bit too much. But this is really neat.
Yeah, one thing I've seen come up a few times in chat now, probably from the more advanced users who kind of know what it's like, is how do you know when agent fixes an issue that your project still works? And that is such a fun question. And here in the security center, there's a related version. You're like, as you click through these, there's actually a button to republish. And this is something we talked about a ton in the team because this lets admins republish your project. Without actually looking at it and seeing what other changes might be pending, which, yes, it's as scary as that sounds. Now, the reason why we put it here is because it's better to be down than vulnerable in many cases for a critical vulnerability. That's like a word from security teams, and that's relevant here. But I did want to give, like, for those who are diligently paying attention in the chat, like a hint towards the future. Like, we are well aware of the problem of like, oh, what if I have critical vulnerabilities, but a bunch of work in flight? I have to publish both the work in flight and the vulnerability fix at the same time. How can we decouple those things? That is something that we're thinking a lot about.
Very neat.
Yeah. Well, and one more thing for the audience to just kind of think about at a high level here. We talk a lot about learning the language, right? Like, you don't have to necessarily learn how to write code, but you should learn some of what the language of writing code, how they speak, right? So you can talk with the agent better and better direct it with specificity. Same thing with security here, right? Like, you probably as a user, again, Replit will eventually meet every user at a place where they don't have to know these things. But the more you can know right now, and the more you can start to understand about how good security works, like in projects, the better you can, again, guide the agent or understand what it's trying to do in the background. And so we always encourage you all to expand your knowledge base and upskill and start looking at kind of some of the edges around this, not necessarily to just deep dive and become a security expert, but again, to like start knowing how to ask the right questions or how to, guide the agent a little better and understand and communicate it with better.
Totally. The last thing we wanted to talk about is auto protect. So tell us about auto protect. We talked a little bit at the top of the show with the dependency management stuff, but maybe give us a little more color there.
Yeah, absolutely. So what you're seeing here, back to dependency, kind of vulnerability findings. This is the part of where you see that all in one place. Hitting fix all with the agent will create one task that goes and just tries to bump the package versions and then reasons through what to do, and bumping the package version also requires changes, say, into the code under the hood. So it starts with the easiest thing and then works its way up if that doesn't work by default. So if you want, you can click fix all with agent and do that here. But the question is, what happens when a new vulnerability pops up and you're asleep and you aren't here to click fix all with agent? And that's what auto protect serves to do. So the goal and what we've launched so far, if you go into settings, you can turn this on. There's a flag that you can turn on, which is right here, which will effectively make it so when a new critical vulnerability or a high or a medium, depending on how you set it, shows up, Replit will automatically start a task and create a patch that's ready for you to merge and send you an email saying, hey, there's a vulnerability. We've prepared a patch for you with a fix. Just go in, then click it, then republish. And all that sort of happens.
That's amazing, right? That's great.
Right.
Yeah. So like, builders, and you talk about like people who are newer to building apps, like this used to be such a manual process. You'd have to like always go back and take a look or build in checks and balances to make sure you're not like these dependency vulnerabilities aren't sneaking up on you, and we're trying to just take care of that.
Well, and we've talked about this a little bit. We had Luis, the CTO, on a little bit talking about some of these dependencies. And then just recently we talked about, or I'm sorry, not just the dependencies, but the whole security side of things. But also, like we talked about recently, that Axios attack, that dependency attack, where there was like, zero impact, in Replit projects because of some of these security screenings and processes that are being in place, whereas not every Vibe code platform can make that claim. Right. And so those are big deals, right? When you hear about these big security vulnerabilities and you see that there's like protections in place that like don't leak into your projects, that's just, again, more reason to, to just have a little bit of confidence in how you're thinking about this, right, Alex? So how do you, when you guys see those things, like, do you guys start freaking out? Like when you see those 0-day vulnerabilities or like those big dependency leaks?
Yeah, we do a lot of things behind the scenes that's like even lower level than what we're talking about here to make ourselves better protected against the types of 0-day vulnerabilities you're talking about. Sometimes the stuff like feels a little bit straightforward, but good hygiene here can really go a long way. Like proper package manager settings, minimum age policies, banning post-install scripts, like just sort of listing things out here. But these are things that if you don't know better, you don't set properly, then suddenly, because you're building an app for the first time, you might find yourself vulnerable. And working in the Replit sandbox just affords you so many kind of protections out of the box. Another thing we do is we only have installed the packages that your app needs. So there's no like Python installation sitting around in the case of Axios that can be used to exfiltrate data. So there's like multiple levels at which we're protected at that are, kind of, lower level than anything we've even talked about in this call so far.
Yeah, spot on. Because if you're trying to DIY vibe code and doing it yourself, you're setting up your own terminal, you're working with these large language models directly, like you're just freewheeling it. You're expected to do all of that, what you just listed that we're doing automatically for you in Replit. You're expected to know that. And so I think a lot of new builders get in trouble there. That's why I think Replit's such a great place to get started, because we're automatically doing all of those best hygiene, best practices before like it even goes into your code base.
Yeah.
One other thing I wanted to call out really quick is, so I think you also have to turn on email notifications here, right? So I'm going to go to personalization, and then I'm going to go to email notifications and turn these on. Okay, so
exactly.
Perfect. So critical, okay, all severity levels. Awesome. So then if I don't turn that on, then I'll just get a notification in the app, but I won't get an email.
Yeah. So I've seen a few comments on this in the chat. People are asking, what should I set it to? If I was to give you like a general guideline, you have a public app that users are using. A lot of the companies that we work with will start at high. If you are extremely security conscious for one reason or another, you can set it lower. Things will start to get noisy, but high is a good place to start.
Very cool.
Hey, Alex, we have a question from somebody in the audience here that I think would be good to maybe address for a second. Can I import my own application code to Replit and run security scans on it? Are these products that people should be thinking about? Like, I built this somewhere else. I really haven't done the security stuff. Like, is this an onboarding path for folks, like where they start bringing their projects in and moving from other places, other platforms, maybe just a GitHub repo? Like, is Replit a place where people should start thinking about that type of thing? Bring your project in and start running these security scans and publish from Replit so that like you're getting the security protection?
Yeah, what a great question. I think, there's kind of two layers to this question. If you can import the application code and it works and you can iterate on the app then in Replit, yes. I think the gotcha is there's certain types of apps, say, I'll just use an example, right? If you have a monolith in a company and you try and pull it into Replit, things aren't quite going to work. There's a bit of a structure around apps built with AI that Agent understands a little bit better. So if you are using any platform for building apps with AI, yes is the answer. You can import them, it will work, and then you can review for security findings with Agent. And that is a super great onboarding path. But I just think the same caveats to import that apply in general still apply here, and that's just worth keeping in mind.
Yeah. Yeah, and so this would be good, like if you're coming from like another vibe coding platform or projects that you've built with AI, but if you're like jumping into, let's say, an existing enterprise stack, they have their own thing, and you're like submitting code in some kind of way to their repository, and all that's happening, the deployment, the management is like a big thing outside of there. That may not be the perfect, import that type of thing into Replit yet, and so that
exactly.
Right.
No, that's a great call out. Great question. And we have a whole set of importers now that make it easier for you to bring in your apps from other platforms. And so I guess, Alex, your point is like use the importer, do that, make sure it runs in Replit, and then start using all the security assets that we have in place to help you just feel more secure before you go public or publish.
Exactly.
Very neat. Alex, wow, I feel like I should have made this segment longer. I apologize because we got some other folks to get to.
I think we're going to be doing a lot of this. And I think if you're in the chat, let us know if there's something you'd like to see us go deep on.
Yeah.
Right? We haven't done like the technical deep dives in the last couple of weeks because we did build-a-thons and travel and lots of different things. But we are thinking about like some of these deep dives. And so if there's any of this you'd like to just go deeper on, or you'd like to see like specific demos about this one thing, let us know in the comments. and we can kind of think about, you know, future content and who else we bring in from the team. As you've seen over the last few weeks, like we're bringing lots of different folks from different parts of the team to just kind of show and expose like what makes Replit run, how are we thinking about this and stuff internally. Again, you know, like really trying to introduce you to the different pieces that make Replit so special.
Folks like Alex here. Alex, anything else? Any other tips you want to leave the audience? If not, maybe let them know how they can follow you and maybe get in touch.
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on X. Hopefully, I come back. We got more coming on security in the coming weeks, and maybe Manny, Rhymar, you'll be so kind to let me or someone from my team come back and talk more about what's happening.
Alex, I think we're gonna have to make this a regular segment every 2 weeks or so. You got to come back because the space is moving so fast, and security is top of mind for everybody. Our casual builders, our entrepreneurs, our enterprise. So
yeah, maybe we need a monthly state of security.
I think we do,
you know,
dude.
like vibe code, like kind of thing that we could have like a standing. You know, like hey, what's all the stuff happening in vibe code and security in Replit? Like, yeah, that'd probably
there's
be a good
different breaches to talk about, different attacks, like there's like different methods that people are like using to protect themselves. I think that's plenty to talk to. So Alex, yes, we're definitely got to bring you back. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
All right, Fahd, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, doing good. Good to meet you both. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Fahd is on our connectors.
Oh, it's Fahd,
team.
by the way.
Fahd, excuse me. Thank you very much, Fahd.
Yeah. Although, actually, Fahd is. How come I never thought of that? That's like such a cooler pronunciation. I should just go by that now. Actually,
it's like your online name. It's like your official name.
Yeah.
But then like online, we Fahd.
Right. Yeah, you get the cool look to you. So I was going with Fahd, but Fahd, no, Fahd makes sense. Fahd's on our connectors team. I think connectors is one of our most underappreciated feature product services on Replit. You know, the way that I think about it is that your app becomes very helpful, very useful when it can grab context from the world. And oftentimes that context is living in other external systems like Databricks, like Snowflake, like a Google spreadsheet, and can take action in the world. Typically like send an email or sending a Slack message. And if you're not a professional developer, those are hard to set up. I've had to set those up in the past. They're painful, setting up API keys, documentation, all that stuff. And now with connectors, you get context and those actions in the world with oftentimes just one click and your regular username and password. So I guess, you know, I'm preaching to the converted here, but tell us about it. Like, tell us how we're thinking about connectors. Tell us about what you've been seeing folks using it.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head, right? Like, I mean, it's remarkable. The last few years, we've got now this like super intelligence, right? Like in our pockets, in our apps that we're building. And Replit has been amazing, like for someone like me. And the reason why I joined is like, I have all these ideas. I want to build apps all the time. And like, you know, in the grocery store, or sometimes when I'm at the red light, you know, just like spin up an app. And it can, you know, quickly do these things. But then like, there's this ecosystem at play, right? There's all these amazing SaaS apps, tools, data warehouses, your personal kind of workflows that are all just out there. And now the amazing thing is that you can bring those in and also now talk to them, right? Like you said, kind of like context and tools, or it's kind of like knowledge and action. And I was thinking like, you know, kind of a fun metaphor is like in the Matrix when, you know, Neo kind of starts realizing that, you know, he's got access to this like infinite library of things, and it's kind of like, oh, now I know martial arts, right?
You can fly a helicopter.
Yeah, so you can think of like your agent is like really smart. You can do a lot of things. You can build these great apps, and now you're able to like go and like, oh, now I can connect to Stripe. I can make payments. Yeah, so
I think this is a big emphasis to make here, because I think, you know, people talk about the SaaS apocalypse and all this enterprise software is going to die, and like, I don't think so. Some of this software is going to die, but a lot of it is going to become infrastructure, and it's going to become the rails for all of us to be able to build the things we want to build, right? Like, it's very hard to build a city if there's no roads or if there's no plumbing, right? And so a lot of these big SaaS companies are going to become the next layer of like plumbing for what I think is going to be like this personalized software layer that AI is going to build on top of that. And to do that at any kind of scale, you need, like a little bit of freedom, but you also need a little bit of restriction. You need a lot of the security stuff. You need like
Exactly.
guardrails that are already in place, especially if you're a big company. And so like, imagine if I already have single sign-on and different enterprise level connections or data storage. We talked about Databricks and Snowflake and a lot of these like BigQuery connectors that we have. And again, to be able to like build securely on top of these like data sets and then still have restrictions like private apps so that you can give folks the ability to build, but maybe not publish or leak that data out. Like those are really big deals here, right? And so like,
Yeah.
As you think about these things that we're talking about, I often want to like get people to like, hey, yes, we're talking about this one specific thing, but here's the big picture and how that fits into it,
Yeah, I think you hit at the philosophy that we're trying to really thread the needle on, is that we've got a range and spectrum of both users and use cases, right? From really people are, weekend vibe coders to large enterprises. And our role is to make this as simple as possible for that early part of the journey, and then think about the customization and kind of capabilities that on the other end. Full DIY, you can do a lot, but then you're talking about all these like security considerations and friction points. And so with Replit, we want to make it like really simple and out of the box, but really lead people on that journey of like, oh, it's really simple, click once it works. But then what if you want more control? And what if you're working with a whole team?
Right. Yeah, and I think that's important to point out too, that some of these connectors are better for like team integrations and some of them are better for like the personal integrations. For instance, like what was the Plaid one that you just did, Manny, the other day. It's like amazing thing to think like I can build apps with Plaid and have secure access to this financial data. Like that's crazy and unheard of. But that's more of like hey, I'm going to connect my financial data. I can't really let a
build my own
party
budgeting app,
that,
right? Like build your own custom budget app now. Couldn't do that before.
The other neat thing that I see folks doing is they're setting up a number of different connectors to the same app. So for example, like say you have data in a spreadsheet or you have data in Databricks or BigQuery, and you want to have one place where all of that comes in one place, and you can build apps on top of that. You can set up all these different connectors. If you want to communicate to people both on Slack and email, you have a connector for email, you have a connector for Slack. And so as you start adding these connectors into one app, you're just being able to do more and more in that one particular app.
Yeah, exactly. You're effectively building a personalized SaaS, right? We're giving you the Lego blocks, and you can use the Lego box from your box, or then your friend has another box, and those parts can all still work together. And I think that's really kind of what like is enabled. And so it'll be really interesting to see in this new world what people are going to be able to build with it that we haven't even really thought of. And like you said, you can take all these different sources of knowledge and context, put them together in ways that matter to you, and then act in ways that matter to you across very different channels.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot, that these become the new primitives for like a whole new era of inventors. I use the printing press analogy oftentimes because the printing press required a lot of other things to actually be, like possible. And so people think like this is a printing press moment where like everyone can write code. But the printing press was only possible because, again, advancements in like ink technology and paper and like eyeglasses and like all these other things were required for that to be able to like finally take off. So we're kind of in that moment now where, again, all these enterprise SaaS platforms and all these things at scale become kind of the other primitives that are now available for you to go invent with Vibe Code and do that in a way that can hit production, can hit scale, can securely offer a lot of these tools in ways that, again, not many other platforms or almost no other platforms has that level of, again, ability to build on top of that and feel secure and then publish that, with one click.
What's I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about our overall philosophy when it comes to connectors. I guess like what's our approach? Do we have like any principles that we're guided by? How do you evaluate adding a new connector, and then how do you think about like making that unique and special in terms of how people access it on Replit?
Yeah, kind of like what we're saying is that it should be consistent and simple, and intuitive, so that all of them kind of act the same way, even though under the hood they all have their own unique capabilities. But for the end user, that shouldn't really matter. It should be very simple to set up, and we should be the ones taking care of how are the keys to this managed and taken care of. If you want to bring your own, okay, what does that look like? If you want certain restrictions or not, what does that look like? But we have to lead people on that journey of okay, when you're starting off, it's really simple. Now, if you're growing or you're in a different organization, you have admins, how do you give them more controls? So that's like one framing of things. The other thing we really care about, especially recently, is both security and reliability, right? People are now building these tools and getting more aware of what they're capable of. But also we want to make sure that, hey, this is external data. This is maybe data that you really care about, that's important. How do we ensure that it's secure? How do we ensure that when you're publishing an app that is used by your customers, that it's secure for them, but it's also reliable and it's performant? Because like now these are production grade apps.
Yeah.
So it's a very challenging problem to solve, and like especially when you're trying to cater to the hundreds of connectors, right? And then there's going to be more and more, and so bringing in that consistent reliability, security is going to be very important for us going forward.
How do you think about that? Like, I mean, it seems like there's an infinite amount of possible connections to be made, and everybody's probably like, connect my thing, right? So like, how are you all kind of triaging those requests or thinking about like, what's the most important type of connectors to bring in? And I have a follow-up question, but it's kind of different, so I'll write it down and maybe we bring it up later.
I mean, there's definitely different categories of connectors, right? So I think like we do want to listen to what is bubbled up by the community as well, and like we have a whole backlog of them. The step one that we did was to make it so that it's not going to be this like ad hoc engineering investment per connector. So we've like moved in that direction to make it more of a platform, so it'll be easier for us to do. Then obviously we want to be able to enable the community to be able to like kind of contribute to that in some way. So we're like have some ideas on like how are we able to like extend it where then we aren't the bottleneck, but we have to do that in a secure and safe way too. So we have some thoughts like, you know, in the future we'll share. That's kind of how we're thinking about it. There's of course like, you know, both there's a way to request, you know, if you go to the settings, I think you have to be in like maybe the personal workspace where you can actually request connector. I believe if you're on the enterprise side, you need to reach out to your kind of contact and be able to raise that through them. So we have different avenues where we're considering these connectors.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So if I want a connector, I drop the suggestion here and surface as up. The other thing that I want to mention, I'm here in a workspace. So the nice thing about this is that we also give you the ability to control the connectors that are available to your teams in a workspace within an enterprises group. So if I have this, say, Blad demo workspace, and I go to integrations, I can go to manage integrations, and there are certain integrations that I can choose not to surface to my team. And if I want to enable an integration that requires some admin access or some more controls or just some more precision around what I want my users to do, I can do that as an admin on a workspace and on a team plan. Is that fair?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was talking about in that kind of that spectrum of use cases and users. And you know, for your personal workspace, you're able to make certain connections on your own, and then you know when you go into the organization side, giving the admins and folks on that side the ability to kind of manage across. And it's kind of like, you know, good parallel to like the earlier talk about the security center of, there's a different problem when you have hundreds of apps, and over here now the other problem is, okay, you have all your builders, hundreds of builders in your organization making hundreds of connections.
Yeah.
So how do you make sure that there's some guardrails around that? That's so yeah, on this side, that's what we want to be able to provide. And then each app, as you see, there's different scopes. So, okay, that's like the capabilities that each connection has, right? So to be able to show that, control that, so that's like really important to surface to the user and give them that kind of a level
It's
of
crazy
control.
to think we talk about these features and like the months and amount of thought that probably went into building these things that you all don't think about when you use this stuff, that you just like click a dependency and it's just connected and like works, and like, and you don't have to go and configure the API and get the key and bring it over and manage the thing. Like, it's so good. Again,
I mean, shout out to the engineers that built this. I'm on the management side, so I can't take any of their credit.
I also have to I also have to a little bit of framing for the audience here, or a thought process, because like I think a lot of people are thinking about Replit, and I got to build the database, and I got to manage everything, and like Replit becomes a source of truth. But as these connectors open up more and more worlds, Replit becomes like the ability for you to create these really cool workflows or to feed data to different apps as things happen in different places. So Replit becomes like this orchestration platform where you don't just have to like let everything live inside the Replit database. Like that's a great place to do that, but you might want to like sync a source of truth somewhere else, right? Or you might want to like send and have some kind of interactive element that happens in your app, but that updates something else in another system of record that people use in a different aspect of their operation. Or maybe you're an agency and you're building tools for your clients and you want to automate some things into like, again, your personal accounting system or your whatever other platform you have. This is a great way to start building those custom dashboards for your users or those custom experiences where you can kind of manage that experience inside of Replit, but then the data can be sending out based on who they are into like these different surface areas. And so now your team or your freelancers or whoever else is working with you doesn't need to be in that. These can be your personal tools that you're building, and they're just working in some other surface. And that, again, you can have that all be connected. And like that just opens up a whole new world of stuff you can build, ideas for what you can execute on, things that you might have gone to like other tools like Make or Zapier or N8N in the past. You can just kind of ask the agent to build for you.
Yeah, I think like the way for builders to think about it is like, what is your day-to-day workflow? What are the problems that you hit? And build the solution for yourself, right? You or your kind of your team, your customers. And in the before times, you had to fit to what an organization had built for you and just hope that they had given all the things that you needed, or you just have to like submit requests. Now the beauty is that you can build the exact tool that you need for your problem, and connectors like really expand that tool set for you.
Yeah.
The other thing that I love where connectors has been super helpful is in navigating the schemas and architecture of an external tool. I'll give you an example. I did a live stream for Databricks. I've done them for Snowflake, and I'm not too familiar with how those systems work, but I set up the connector in Agent, and I had Agent guide me through that process. So I said like, hey, like tell me about what data sets are in Snowflake. Okay, like so how do I handle this data set, or how do I get access to this? And so Agent act as my tutor to those other systems. So before I built anything, like I had Agent walking me through all the stuff and exploring the data and getting different cuts. I'm like, oh, I want to do this demo and do this particular build. And so like now, okay, now go ahead and use everything that we talked about and go build the thing. So I thought that was super helpful.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about that. Like we've shown kind of the UI for being able to manage the integrations, connectors. There's also MCPs and set them up. But the agent, like your Replit agent, has context that those are available, or that they've been set up by an admin or yourself in the past, even when you open a new app. And so you don't actually, you just go to the agent and tell it like, oh, I want to connect to my linear, and I want it to read out using 11 Labs, my issues or something.
Yep.
And it should, either, if you haven't connected, it should guide you through connecting it, or if it's connected, then it starts like building it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's again, it's a use case we talk about all the time, that Replit's becoming this more and more this platform for like when there's a problem to solve, whether it's a problem we need to solve and like have this app exist for ever moving forward, or it's just a thing I need to run. I need to export a CSV, but I need to join a bunch of tables. Before, I would have had to know how to write SQL, or I would have had to have like engineering talent, like look at these databases and understand how to pull them together, and then to do these like complex joins and blah, blah, whatever. And maybe even then I still need to figure out how to get two different databases to join because they're maybe not in the same system. And so like now you can just connect Notion, connect Linear, and ask the agent, and it will use those as context. It can go explore those things, or your BigQuery backend, and like export a CSV that connects person A with person B that has somehow touched surface C. And you don't need to be a computer science major to write that query. You could just ask the agent in natural language, and it will go do the work for you. And then you could just download a CSV, and that's just not a thing like you to think about that you had access to before.
Yeah, I like that framing, right? Like this caters to both these like ephemeral use cases or repeatable like dashboard or tools. And I think we're starting to get to use and understand how these tools can work for us in really interesting ways. And when you have an idea of like, oh, like you said, there's a particular problem I have to solve, or like I need to do an investigation, you really shouldn't worry like, oh, is this a tool that's going to live for like, a year or two? It doesn't matter. Like the interactivity, the context richness that Replit is able to provide with these connectors will just like help you get to your solution faster, you or your team. And I think for us to be able to use it for that high productivity is something that really seeing how people will be able to use in the future.
Yeah, and you said it. I mean, I think we're in the era of ephemeral, or rather disposable, we could maybe say, as a like software, where simple use case, one time, I'm going to do this to solve this one problem. I don't really care, about that I'm going to throw away 10,000 lines of code and a couple hours worth of work, because it might have cost me $10,000 to do that with the technical staff in a week or 2 months, and I can do it now in a day. Those types of opportunities just start opening themselves up here.
I also wanted to mention the new connectors that we dropped this week. 9 new connectors. Is that the usual pace that we're dropping these at? 9 every week or so? That's.
I mean, it's really fast. Like I think I saw this list from you. I'm like, oh, I guess we did. Yeah, like these are constantly happening, and like the work that the team did to set up making this easy to be able to add the metadata on our side, the platform to expose it. Like there's a lot of investment done to make this pace possible, and we're only going to see this pace continue. Yeah.
Well, and I think this goes back to, we talk about all the time how Replit's infrastructure sets it apart, and so the ability to move on some of this stuff quickly, like the security stuff and these connectors and all these different things, is again due to a lot of that infrastructure we constantly reference, and those investments that have been made over the years getting to the place where that's what really separates Replit from a lot of the competition, is like the ability to build these things right, and then the ability to scale them way quicker.
Any other connectors on the docket? Anything else we should be looking out for? Or where do we keep
the alpha?
Where do we keep up to date on new connectors? Like I'm sure people are like, I mean, I guess we send out a product update every week, so we'll be adding those there. But like any other place they should be looking?
I mean, we have our doc site and the actual in product, right? But I mean, I think we need to do a better job. We are so focused heads down on making this work well and secure and reliably performant that I think we haven't thought about the discoverability aspect as much, and the in product experience. We do need to think about that, and I think it's less going to be about, like I said, we built the infrastructure to now I think we have more than 400 connectors now, and so that is going to keep growing. So it's less about what's the new connector. We now need to think about, okay, what are the capabilities that connectors have? And a lot of the investments we're making now, like there's, I shouldn't say what those are, but there are at least 4 or 5 different projects that we have slotted that we're thinking about that's going to expand the types of things connectors can do, or how you're able to use them within Replit. And so those are going to be really excited. So just like being able to make it more powerful, customizable, guardrails. So that's kind of the thematic areas that we're working on.
When we talk about these exponential unlocks, right? And so it's like one of these things where as you build these primitives and as you do all these this additional work, it doesn't just open up a thing for one person. It opens up maybe eventually anyone can come build a connector. And I also think we should make this point that just because there's not an official connector that you can't integrate the product, right? You can still go. The agent's so good that if the product has a good API, and like most doc sites are getting copy with Markdown, that if you can create an API key and feed it to the agent, yes, the connectors are amazing, and you can do a lot with the connectors, but that's not the limitation here. There's you can just ask the agent, put the key in the environmentals and paste in the Markdown, the docs, for that thing, maybe a couple pages of docs or the full docs, whatever. And the agent is pretty good at also figuring that stuff out too. So I can imagine in the future, again, this will become less of a what's the new connector, more like connect anything,
Yeah, that's the world you want to get to, right? Like you shouldn't have to think about it. It's like, I want to use this thing and I want to use it securely, and it should just work.
Yeah.
You made a good point earlier in terms of changing the nature in terms of how we pull these different tools in and they interact with agent, because I think that's something that's underappreciated. There's there's different levels in which we can pull in these different connectors, these different tools, different contexts, and what they can do right now. Different modalities, and like there can be a change. There could be a substantive difference in quality in terms of your experience with one connector to another because of how their system is architected, how their system is set up, and what they're giving to the agent, and how good their documentation is. Because ultimately, agent is pulling in their documentation to do some of this work. So I think, yeah, that's something that I think is underappreciated. And it's going to be interesting to see how your team rolls that out. Like how, like as these products evolve, as Rhymar mentioned as well, like more and more, there's going to be like a headless product that's going to be made available with different services. And then also like they're going to offer AI features on their end as well. Like for example, Databricks offers certain AI features that I might want to call from Replit, have it implemented in Databricks, but I need Replit to have documentation on that and access to it as well. So I think you're just going to have your hands full as like the entire space is evolving and creating these new interactions.
Yeah. So I mean, from the maybe external point, it just looks like, oh, we added, you know, some connectors, and yes, we have built the platform so that we could, if you know the API and all that infrastructure is publicly available, we're able to extend it. But what's not visible is all like the team to team partnership angle, where a lot of the connectors actually that we do end up releasing, while even if the work is kind of like, oh, let's add some metadata, but there's a lot of partnership work of being able to, like, because it's an incentive on both sides, right? Like those partners, they want their connector to succeed, and we want them to succeed. We want the agent to be able to work well with it. And so there's a lot of just like conversation on like really like how do we improve both the agent's ability to kind of work with this, the performance angle, reliability, security angle with those teams. And we'll continue to, right? So obviously not like all 400, but we'll be able to work with some like key partners to provide the best experience, and we'll
spot on. I remember Amadeo was telling me about when the Stripe integration happened, like the two teams were on site working together to make that happen and to make that a great experience for Replit users. And Replit users will tell you that there's a substantive difference in terms of how they use Stripe on Replit versus using Stripe elsewhere. And that's because of the extra mile that we're going to make that like as seamless as possible for our users.
Yeah.
Very neat. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. As I mentioned, I think connectors are so underappreciated. Don't get nearly enough love. So thanks very much for coming on the show. What's the best way for people to follow your work or follow you or connect with you?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, on X. Under X, I'm on at Fahd, and we are hiring folks who have a very platform-minded, back-end, front-end, infra, web foundations folks. So definitely shoot me an email.
Yeah. Well, this is a big underserved growth sector, I think, not just for Replit, but for like the companies that are connecting too. I think as Replit becomes more powerful and more people start building with Replit, and that is going to start creating these, again, like interesting entry points for these other apps, and lots of people already use these apps. And so again, this is going to become, it's underrated right now, but I think probably not in the next 6 months as people start realizing, and some of these stuff you can see it percolating to the surface, these cool projects. And so like, again, I think as this stuff gets exposure, absolutely, as we start surfacing more and more of it, people like this is going to become a real like big piece of this whole operation.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting year.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank
you very much. Have a great weekend. Thanks. Talk soon.
Bye.
Oh, Elias.
No.
There he is.
There we go. Can you hear me?
We got to have our star of the show. What's up, Elias?
How's it going?
Hey,
doing good.
Making money out of Replit. This is what it's all about, really.
Yeah.
A little bit of context for everybody. Elias was a participant in our Replit 10 build-a-thon. So remember, we gave agent away for free for 24 hours. We also hosted a build-a-thon. Ton of signups. I think I had like 20,000 signups, like a whole bunch of different projects. And out of all of those, we selected 10 overall winners, and Elias was one of those winners. So Elias, tell us a little bit about that. Tell us about your experience with the build-a-thon. Tell us about what you built and what's been happening since, because you've shared some really good news yesterday.
Yeah. So I built Dial, and in theory, it's not a fancy idea. Like, it's nothing big. but I think it's such a emotional app or web app. What it does, it'll let you create an event for weddings, for example, and then you create your event, and then you can share it with your guest using a QR code, a link, text, whatever, and they'll open it without needing to install the app, and they just record a voice message, and you can keep that forever. And that seems to has been doing really good on like social media because of the emotional part. People see it and they're like, oh, you know, my grandparents, my parents, this is something I want at my wedding. The build-a-thon, that was a long 24 hours. I was on a Discord. We had a bunch of people on there. It was like 2, 3 a.m. and we're on there keeping each other motivated, trying to pull through. Because I had started this app in a while back, but you know, I didn't have the time or the credits to really work on it. I heard we had those 24 hours and I went all in.
Woo, he took advantage of it, dude. That's
Yes,
the
I did.
attitude, man. I
Yes,
love it.
because what I had when I first started it, I had 2 different projects. I had the web one and a mobile app. When I started it, you couldn't build both on one platform or on one project. So I migrated the whole web one into the new project where I had the mobile app. That took that took some time because I had to migrate everything over, but it was pretty easy with Replit. Um, so yeah, that
Lovely
that took a
website,
while.
dude.
Yeah, thank you.
Tell us a little bit
Um,
about that building experience. Like, like coming from, you had this idea kind of sitting on the shelf.
Yep.
We do this campaign that basically says, hey, Replit's going to be free for 24 hours. And you're like, okay, here we go. Sprint mode is
Yeah.
on. And so like, what is your mindset going into that? What was your goal? I mean, you got an app in the App Store now that's making
Right.
money. So
Yeah.
like, tell me a little bit about your thought process and going through that build phase and kind of getting
Mhm.
from there to here.
Right. Yeah. So like I said, I had started it early on, but I didn't have much. I had like the MVP. I saw that 24-hour birthday build-a-thon was going on, and so I was like, yeah, I really gotta lock in sprint. This is a big 24 hours. So I have 3 other apps in the App Store, not built with Replit, and building it with Replit was so much easier building the app. Because when I did it before, I had to manually set everything up, connect everything. Just simple things like logging in with Google, connecting to databases, all of that kind of stuff. Stripe, because I know we connecting it with Stripe. All of it was a big manual process. But with Replit, really quick, I'd just type in, and because I knew the back end of it, I was able to build it with Replit probably a lot quicker. I would just tell it, let's connect it to Google, connect it to Stripe, connect it to Firebase, all of that. It just said put in the API keys, boom, quick, easy, move on. And that saved me so much time to how it was before, the way I was doing everything. And I was able to release the app and the web app, in a weekend pretty much. I've never, all the other apps, it would take a few weeks for me to build it. And then what really sold me, believe it or not, it wasn't how quick Replit was. You guys had released the Replit App Store connection feature. And I was like, how does that work? So I just started playing around with it and I tested it out and it got approved my first build, which is rare. If you build apps, that's not a normal thing.
Kudos to you though. That means you kind of had a little bit of know-how and
Right.
This wasn't your first ride through, I
Right,
think,
yeah.
probably.
No, yeah. But it was so much quicker. I had
Yeah.
never built an app that quick. And this is the
All right,
most
I take it
money.
back then. No kudos to you. It's all about Replit.
Yeah, I'll Replit. But it's funny because my other apps, they make a little money. I mean, a few hundred a month maybe. But with Replit, I mean, I've already made more money with this one than I have with the second one I made. That one's been out for a while.
You don't have to, but do you feel comfortable sharing how much that is for folks that might have an
Yeah,
experience?
no,
I
that's
saw
fine.
there was like a 323% growth, but like, what does that mean? You're at the top of the unicorn chart, which people don't know what that really is, but it's like an MRR
Yeah.
verification. It's like, hey, we're verifying this revenue actually is real. So yeah, Do you mind sharing?
Yeah, no, that's fine. You could pull it up in the Trust MRR link. Yes, that one. Well, no, go back. There's one post I have where I link where you can see all the earnings for that.
Oh, gotcha. Let's see here. Stop. Is it this one? Stop me when I get here.
Let me see.
Oh, is it right? Is it this?
Here, can I drop it in the chat?
You can drop it in the
Yeah,
private
drop it in the
chat on
private
bottom
chat
left.
for sure.
Okay, yep, I sent it.
Nice.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, and
You're
for
a
those
pro,
who don't
dude. You know how to do
this.
this.
This is a really cool. This Mark Liu built a really cool platform.
Yeah,
for
and if
folks,
you're building, you know Mark Liu. Like if
Yeah.
you're part of the indie dev industry, you know who Mark Liu is.
He's legend, dude. When I saw you got a
Yes.
response from him, I was
I
like,
know.
oh
I
my
was like-
gosh,
I was
dude.
like, whoa, he replied.
I almost made a second card for that. Second.
Yeah. I was like, whoa, no way he replied. Yeah.
Well, and this is what I go. This is what I go back to. What I was mentioning about the social exposure and the things that are building, and the like. Discord's cool, but get out into the real world and start sharing this stuff. And you
Yep.
never know who's going to find or retweet. And again, you never know where that's going to go 6 months from now, right?
Yep,
Like my first retweet from somebody in Replit leadership, from Anjad, from Michele, from these folks, like ended up getting me here. So you never know when you have zero footprint, you start sharing this stuff, you do cool things, you make a little money, you do whatever. And we can see here, like, hey, this is not a ton, this is not life-changing money, but who knows where this goes 6 months from now, right? It's like you're starting, and you just mentioned, hey, I have a couple other apps that do a little bit of money. And so you've got all these like diversified work streams, and you're going to keep playing, you're going to keep iterating, you're going to keep getting user feedback. These numbers are going to keep going up. And so like, it's just important to let people know. I think a lot of times folks see like the end result, right? They see you here, they see you making money. Maybe they see you at 6 months from now, and this number is got a couple extra zeros on it. And they're like, oh, this guy, you know, whatever. He's got 10 apps. He's been doing it forever. Like you look at levels.io and you're like, oh, he's making $1 million a month on his apps, but like he's a pro and he's got all this audience, but like he didn't start there, right? You're starting here. Here you are. I'm telling you, we're going to talk to you in a year. And if you're continuing on this path, like we're going to just see this growth. And so I just can't overemphasize anybody watching this. You can do this, right? Like this is your signal that you have this opportunity to jump into the same platform. And like based on where you live, $1,800, $700, a couple $100 a month. Like, hey, that's my cell phone payment. That's my car payment. That's my whatever it is, right? And so like it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be like it's my main income. It's like, no, I'm just starting to iterate on this. I'm starting to learn how to make a little bit of money, and then boom, 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 it starts stacking. So like, yeah.
How does someone get their app on this platform?
So they just go to the Trust MRR website, they create a profile, and then they'll just link it to the App Store. So I think the App Store has some keys or token or something. It's pretty easy. Create your account, you link it, and then you connect your revenue cat keys and then your Stripe keys if you have it.
Got it.
So like if you click dial, like you can click it and it'll pull up a chart.
Right here?
Yep.
Okay. Oh,
Okay,
neat. Cool.
Yeah, so now if you can filter it because it only shows 30 days right now. The app's only been out for like, oh, you can't. Okay.
I need the pro account.
Oh, there you go. There
Mark
you go.
Liu making his money here.
That's right. Hey, Mark Liu, clip it, send it. You know, send us the royalties. Let's go.
But there it is right there. So the app, I mean, it's been live maybe like 2 months. Like
it
was the
$800.
So you can see there where I'm almost going to beat last month already, and we're not even at the end of the month. I mean, we have like 8 days left.
Hey, everybody, go and get this app. Help our friend Elias.
Yeah, that would be great.
triple that, man. Come on, everybody.
Yeah, no, it was such a cool feeling when there was one day I had a $200 day sale last month, and I was like, whoa. And that was right after the build-a-thon. I was like, whoa, this is crazy, because like in one day I made that, and that's how much my other apps would make the whole month.
I love it. A couple things I want to mention, and as a question that I think you got to answer for everybody. So one thing is I checked out your background. You're a software engineer.
Yep.
And I keep telling people like technical, like Replit is for technical people as well. Why? Because as Elias mentioned, he doesn't want to do all the DevOps type of stuff that you have to do, that everybody has to do. So if you're doing it on your own local terminal, you have to set up your own API keys. You have to save those. You have to set up the whole integrations. And as we mentioned earlier, the usefulness of your app is about context and connectors. And if you got to do all that yourself, it's going to slow you down. There's no way you can do this in 24 hours, even if you're technical, and ship this fast without a tool like Replit. And so we keep saying like
multiple projects.
Yeah,
especially if you have multiple projects. Like if you want to do this one time and you want to manage all the dependencies and you're like a boutique, I'm gonna handle all the whatever and turn the knob. Okay, cool, go whatever. Be the the developer, the snobby, whatever. But like I think practically, folks like yourself and lots of other folks, like I'm talking to lots of technical folks. I have a friend who, if you were around for the build hour meetups that we were doing like a year ago, we would bring in a technical guy, and he, like I just talked to him the other day. He's like, I'm just more and more surprised at what projects Replit will support. You know, and so he keeps getting more and more into this as a technical person, right? As a dev first mindset, where again, he's like, I don't want to deal with this stuff. I just want to like have it work and then just click publish and whatever, right? And so they will want to control certain projects for clients, different things. But like yourself, hey, if I'm running my personal projects, if I'm running a bunch of experiments, like I don't really want to deal with all that DevOps for every little time I want to deploy something.
Yeah, like with the App Store, it's a great example right away, because when I was doing it before, you build an app, then you got to do, you know, a few different steps to build it, upload it to Xcode, from Xcode to App Store Connect, all of that. With Replit, you literally just put a command in, it'll do the package build, send it to App Store Connect, and it takes like 20 minutes maybe. And then you can submit it, and it was so easy. I was like, wow, this is crazy. And then being able to update both the website and the mobile app at the same time, because I have it in one project, they match right away. Like literally last night, I updated the paywall for the mobile app. It got approved right away. I submitted it to Apple, in 2 hours later, approval, good, first try, move on. Then I said, update the website to match the app. Did it, minutes, and now it's all lined up.
We keep talking about, like, we've literally glossed over things that should be their own shows a ton of times, like that what you're just talking about there, like the ability to have the web app and mobile app, and you control that inside of Replit with the same database, the same backend logic, this like the ability, and not have those be totally separate environments you don't understand.
Yeah, that was my main goal in the 24-hour build. When I saw that, I said, I'm migrating this project and I'm doing one big project so I can do everything in one.
Yes, and it's so, I just don't think people understand like how much of a savings that is, right? It's like, if you're coming into this world as a builder right now and you don't know about what it was like to build 2 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever, any of this stuff, and you're just like, oh, this is how it's supposed to be.
Back in my day, we needed two different Replit apps. One for my web, one for my mobile app.
It was a
pain.
pain.
Needed to ship to XR code first.
Yeah, it was a pain. I remember trying to set up Firebase, 7 years ago on my iOS app. Oh, that was a pain.
Yeah. Well, there's still folks that think, they're like, oh, we're going to set up, instead of we use the internal database, we want to set up Supabase, we want to do those other things. It's like, just go, let the thing go.
Yeah.
Okay. So Replit is making it easier for you to focus on other things, and I think this is where you can deliver some alpha for everybody that's sticking with us here at the tail end of the show. Tell us about how you're getting attention on your app. We talked about some of the growth hacking stuff that you're doing. I think everybody would love to know, how are you finding users, customers? How are you getting them to buy?
Yeah. So I'm mainly focusing on TikTok. Let me see. I can send you the TikTok page.
Send me the page. I'll pull it up.
I'm fine with that.
Gotcha. So TikTok, the main distribution?
Yes.
Channel?
Okay. So a lot of YouTube hours. YouTube University.
YouTube University.
So yeah, mainly I'm focusing on organic. I did a little bit. I spent last month when I first launched it, I did some paid reach. I didn't have the budget for that, so I went back to organic. And because I know weddings are people are going to spend money on weddings. No matter what, they have a budget for it. It's an emotional thing. So here, like,
I know about that, brother. Yeah, still reeling. In a couple years out, I'm still reeling. People spend money on weddings. That's for sure.
They spend money, yes. So like you can see, all of these are targeted to brides. all wedding information, and then I naturally just drop dial in one of the slides. They're all photo posts, most of them. I went on some website, bought like $100 worth of UGC reaction videos, and I just reuse them with a different hook every time. So like here, yeah, you keep scrolling, boom, there's dial.
Perfect.
And that's sending a lot of users daily to the app.
Amazing.
I'm probably getting
can I point something out here?
Yeah.
Folks, his TikTok page is not a home feed of just his product in your face, right? You're not like, like you're injecting here's other resources that you might want for your wedding. And it's like the algo is probably picking this up because people swipe through, because it's not just like, hey, here's the product, here's my product, here's my product, here's my product, right?
Yep.
So like we talk all the time about like, hey, your product, people will find it if it's interesting. Just be interesting, or just provide value, or create resources. And so I just wanted to point that out as, like think about creating content, and then platform specific. Some of this stuff obviously wouldn't connect with me, but maybe the bride, right? And that's the audience, right? And so you have to, again, create the content for the audience and the platform that will resonate. So there's just, again, a multifaceted approach. We talk all the time. You have to be a marketer, you have to be a content creator, you have to kind of like build and then find the distribution. So just wanted to like make that little bit of call out.
Absolutely. And I like how niche it is. So we keep talking about this. You got to be niche. Like this could be used by a number of people, but you're being very narrow. You're looking for brides on their wedding day. And I also love how like all of the content isn't like even like on the thumbnails, like it's all about the bride, it's all about her, it's all about the pain point, the emotion there. And then like, yeah, like at the end, like, oh, here's a product to do that. But you're making it about them, the user, their pain point, what they want, and then how the product is going to help them in that point in time.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, we talk all the time about don't sell the plant that makes you Mario with fireballs. Sell you being a superhero that can throw fire. And that's what you're doing here, right? You're showing the bride, you're showing the moments, you're showing the emotional connection, you're showing the memories. And then at the end, it's like, here's how to make that happen. Like that's the,
right. Yeah, because I mean, it's a learning process. When I first tried or first started promoting my apps on here, I was being very specific, like download app, get this app, blah, blah, blah. I wasn't doing that well. And then I started
how much content are you cooking here? Like so much.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to do like
that, dude. That's amazing.
Trying to do like 3 to 5 posts a day.
Let's go.
But and what's good about it, like you were saying, if you're posting useful content, TikTok will pick it up. A lot of these posts, I'll get an alert from TikTok and it'll say your content was useful, we gave it a boost. And that's straight from TikTok themselves.
Wow.
So I've gotten like 10,000 views boosted from TikTok because people are liking it, they're saving it, they're sharing it, and it's all organic. It's free.
Elias, we're going to need a follow-up to see if there was a Replit live stream bump in your revenue.
That would be great. Yeah.
We got to call it the
let's give it
bump.
to Elias.
That's it.
Yeah.
We need to start tracking the live stream bump. We got to call it the revenue bump from the Replit revenue bump or something like that, and maybe inspire folks to like maybe we can become a little channel. So if you're out there and you had a wedding coming up, you got a special moment, let's make sure we, drop the link in the chat there and everyone go support Elias here if we can.
Thank you.
Question here: where are you getting the UGC user generated content? Right, that's like the pictures and stuff like that. How are you using like an AI for that or stock or what?
Yeah, I'm doing it all because I see another comment saying I'm automating it. This is all me. I'm going to Pinterest. I'm using AI to give me the text to put on each slide. But I go to Pinterest, I'll look up what will match that text. I'll get it, download it, and then manually I'm making each TikTok. I just feel like doing it that way. I know people automate it, but I feel like this way you're just able to have full control over it.
Yeah.
And you can play around. Like if I see a few of them doing well, I'll tell AI, these are doing well. Give me more similar to this. It'll give me 5 more. I'll go get the photos off Pinterest, download them, put the text over it, and post it. And then the titles and description are important. So like if you open any of these, I'm making sure that the title I put and the description are like SEO. It's SEO for TikTok. And these keywords will, trigger when people look it up, my apps, my photo, post will show up.
Got it. Do you have a skill in what you're doing this, or like a chat and an AI
I
assistant?
am the skill, he says.
Dang.
I'm just using ChatGPT. Like,
Oh, just ChatGPT, and like you have a
nothing
third, and you're like,
fancy.
oh, here's a new piece of content I want to do. Give me the title and the different settings and stuff like that. Awesome.
Yeah, so
I mean,
I'll take a
Go ahead.
bunch of different like blog articles, and I'll drop the link, and I'll say convert this into a TikTok post, and so it'll take legit information, you know, that's useful for the brides and everyone, and it'll just break it down for me. So I'll just, you know, build it from there.
Can
I
you,
love it, dude.
people are asking, how many hours a day or week do you devote to this? Like, can you balance? Can you tell us how much time you spend on the marketing side versus the building side, or like what? Yeah.
Yeah, so I have a 9 to 5, so I work around that. Luckily, you know, long weekend, so I got off today. But yeah, I wake up before, you know, before I start working, probably an hour or two, just looking through my post, reading all the information. And then what I like about TikTok, you can create and then schedule your post. So I'll spend maybe an hour, 2 hours a day on marketing, on building the post. But like I'm always tweaking stuff in the back end, just, you know, looking up little pieces in the back. But yeah, I'm 1-2 hours a day. Some days, you know, it can be more than that. But I think setting up your post for future ones, because I can create like 10 in one sitting and then have it post every hour.
Right.
And that way, you know, TikTok will automatically shoot it out. And I got a bunch of them planned out.
Do you curate bad performers and kind of like leave the new ones? Like, do you go back and delete ever, or are you mostly just kind of like firing and letting them go?
Yes, because I've learned there's been some posts that it'll do really bad for their first few days. Like I'm talking about maybe a few hundred views, and then out of nowhere it'll just take off.
Yeah, and
people
probably
just start.
If people go back, like let's say one hits, and then they go back to your profile page, maybe
Right.
they start
binge.
scrolling through, and then they
Yeah.
find one, they
And-
binge, they click, and then then that hooks them
Yeah.
in when they're
And I don't know if you guys noticed, if you could share it really quick again, the
Yes.
TikTok page.
Sure thing. Mm-hmm.
If you go back to the page itself.
Mm-hmm.
So you see how I have 3 pinned directly for the app?
Yep.
So I'm getting a bunch of traffic from all the other useful posts, and then people go like, all right, let me check out his account. They go, and the very first thing they see at top is the app.
Oh.
And they're like, what is he crying about? What is that? And they'll click on it. And that's all organic now because I'm pulling them in with all the other informative posts.
Yo, she looks like Jessica Alba. Did you do that on purpose?
I just got it up Pinterest.
Oh, nice. It's like Jessica Alba over here, dude.
Someone
I'm like,
actually
you
left
got a
that comment.
spokesperson
Someone
already?
left that
Dude,
comment.
Elias, you're going big, dude. I already got Jessica Alba as the official spokesperson of the app.
and
I love that. That's so great. So just to recap that, because I think it's such an important point. Like you have your heavy CTA hitters pinned. So as people are checking out other posts that are maybe not such heavy on the CTA or the call to action for the app or the sell on the app, like they like it. It's interesting to come back to your page and the first 3, like, okay, very heavy on the sell, like really fast, like here's like your big CTA. So that makes a ton of sense. So it's acting like almost like a funnel to your main CTA post here. That's brilliant, dude.
And then
I think we could probably go days on this. I think we probably need to do, just like we were talking about a security stream menu, we probably need like the marketing corner or something like that, where, you know, we're kind of digging in on the distribution stuff.
We need to follow people like Elias over their journey and just bring them back and like, okay, dude, like, how do we help you out? How can we help you moving forward?
Well,
Come
we
back
talked
to
about
us.
that during the build-a-thon, like having some kind of fellowship, or as people like launch their products and get to a certain level, that we can like start pulling them into like this cohort of folks that we, again, I don't know what that looks like, but yeah, I think that's starting to emerge as like a path we need to really align on. And
well, you already took us down for 24 hours of free agent credits, and you took down like 5K of additional Replit credits, right? Those were the winners.
I think
10K.
Yeah.
My goodness. I hesitate to ask, but Elias, how else can we be helpful?
Oh man, I don't know. People appreciate how much we love our builders here. Like I share this like on our internal Slack. We're like, yeah, amazing, great. So no, Elias, tell us, like, what else can we do to support you and be helpful? Wow, I mean, I
And
really
same
don't
in
know.
the chat. While you think, Elias, maybe same in the chat, right? Like we're looking for ideas for how to do more and more of this. So yeah, Elias, as a builder, you know, obviously there's a little bit of exposure coming from just being on the stream and getting on the Buildathon website. Has a lot
Replit
of
bump.
traffic going. Yeah, right. The Replit revenue bump.
Yeah.
Like right. RRB instead of MRR.
Yeah.
What would that look like? Let us know in the chat. And then yeah, Elias, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think these things are great. I love sharing it with other groups. The Discord's very useful. I mean, that 10K credit is going to be fantastic.
You need to thank, by the way, some of the Buildathon folks because you were not on the radar.
Really?
Just so you know. Yeah,
That's awesome, dude. Tell us more about that, dude.
Yeah, no. You got on our radar as judges because other people were talking about you from the Buildathon.
Really?
Right?
Oh,
so
wow.
like I think initially had kind of seen your thing, but it wasn't like a deep dive wow moment. And so that was like, it was in the, hey, this is in the running. Let's keep it. It's a cool project. Let's kind of think about it, you know? And as we got closer to the end, the amount of other people that kind of referenced it, the activity and things that were happening in Discord. And I think you got really active in some of the other like micro communities that brewed up in there. And that's what surfaced this up for us. And so for whatever that's worth for you and anybody watching, you know, it really was this ever evolving, you know, thing, this process, right?
Yeah.
So
I love that. I love that about our community. They're just trying to help other folks, man. That's so
It
great.
is.
Even yesterday, I mean, how this got on my radar, I think like you posted it on the Discord and somebody was like, dude, this is really cool. Post this on X, tag Manny and Rhymar.
That's exactly
like, right
how
now.
it happened.
And then I saw it. I'm like, oh, this is really cool. This is amazing. I got to like promote you. I got to do my like milestone card. Let me get that out. Let me post it internally. And then I said, like last night, I said, dude, Elias, like, are you available tomorrow at this time to come on the stream? And you're like, yeah, let's do it. And so again, that's the Discord community saying like, so dude, fast too. Like,
it was very quick.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things happen like that because it's just in the moment. You know, again, everything's moving so fast. So yeah, thanks for being flexible. And I think that's just the Buildathon. We showed that, like, you know, literally building things and fixing things in real time, and just see like just the activity in the Discord and everything. You know, just watching this community is super cool. I can't overstate just how electric this community is. And if you can plug it
really is.
And don't think about like, hey, I got to plug into the biggest thing. Don't tag Rhymar and Manny in every single post you make on socials. You know, like that's happening now, or people are just like, you know. But when you have something cool and when you like, I need to get the attention, and it's worth like that thing, like then you fire that bullet.
We got you.
Bullet,
yeah, because I didn't tag you guys at first. Right. I just made a post and then I shared it on the Discord, and then they were like, bro, go tag them. They need to see this. This is really cool. Give them a tag. And I said, all right, I'll go tag them. And then Manny saw it, sent me a message, and here we are.
Well, and it's always better when someone else is talking about you rather than when you're talking about yourself.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Right. Amazing. Okay. Well, Elias, anything else you want to call out for the audience as well in terms of how they can be helpful aside? I'm dropping the links to dial moments, of course, download, but like, I guess, you know, anything else you want to call out?
Yeah. I had a YouTube channel that I was posting on my like documenting the process, and I want to start posting again. And I feel like this is a cool.
And you're be posting about your journey, what you're, but kind of what we talked about today. Okay, not necessarily the app, but like a vlog behind the scenes thing, like follow me as I make $1 million on this app kind of thing, right? I'm calling it right now, 2027. And I'm gonna come back and be like, I made $1 million. I'm like,
that would be amazing.
Go.
Yeah.
Or even if it's $100,000, you know, like even if it's 10 grand, like whatever, you know, like it's just
something.
But,
yeah.
But you could see this getting a little bit of zip. You know?
I was very surprised. I'm very surprised with how much it's already taken off and how much feedback I'm getting.
And we talked about like, you know, things are moving so fast. Tools you can ship so fast now with the Replit. Like you should get like 4, 5, 7 of these. And this is your third one. And you're already seeing that the trend is your friend. It's moving higher. Like I can't imagine like what you're gonna do with your 4th, 5th, 7th application. You're killing it.
Yeah.
Dude.
No, I can't wait.
Let me grab that YouTube channel here and let me drop it in here too.
I dropped it in there.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. I'm going to subscribe too, bro. I got to follow this.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah.
W's in the chat.
Get this man some subs.
I did have one quick tip I wanted to share.
Yes,
sorry,
please
we're out of
do.
time. No kidding.
No,
Please
no,
drop
one
the
quick tip.
knowledge. No.
You're gonna have to save that for the private stream
That's
if you
right.
want to
Yes.
join. It's paid behind a paid wall kind of thing.
Yeah, no, because this is actually pretty big if you're gonna start marketing on TikTok. TikTok will block your link in your bio if it picks up that you're like trying to. They'll block certain links. So with Replit, I literally typed in, if you can tell that this user is opening my website from TikTok, give them a bottom tab bar and it'll give you the instructions to open it on the native app. So like it can tell if you're opening it from TikTok, and then I have a custom flow for TikTok. So normally the user, when they open the website, they go through the event flow and it'll get their email right away. TikTok doesn't like that. So I have a custom one and it'll pick up this user opened a link from TikTok. So it'll go through the event and then it'll just say enter your email. You don't create an account. And then it'll send you your event to Gmail and you can continue off TikTok. And I figured out that's how you can get around that TikTok ban, where they'll not let you, create anything through their website. So they create the event, put in their email, they'll get the email, and then they can continue off the app.
So let's clarify that a little bit, because all these social media platforms, they don't want you to leave their platform. That's why like you oftentimes see like, don't drop a link in the main post, drop it in the comments, because they want everybody to stay on their platform. So if you're linking off of it, they're going to penalize you. Some say they don't, some say they do, whatever, but it's clear that TikTok does that. Yeah, they are going to say no, like, oh yeah, we love links. Yeah, post X, post LinkedIn. What do we care? Yeah, right. And so what you're saying is like, to get around that, so you create something that's native within TikTok. So it's a custom flow. So they just put in their email and then they get the response, so they're back into the application.
Yes.
And you built that in Replit, in the Replit app. Is it like an artifact or is it like a special script? How does that work? But
it's a script.
To do that. Okay.
Yeah, so it's a script in the back end. So like here, I opened up TikTok because before it'll show you this page. And then if you click open, it will just ban it. Like it'll say not able to access on TikTok. But you see this bottom tab, I have it, the script, and it'll run it and it'll say you're on TikTok.
Oh,
and then
so
it'll guide you
amazing
on doing that. And then I also have a
alpha, much alpha.
I have a special flow because normally I have a different event flow process where they have to put their email in right away and create an account. That'll get your page blocked on TikTok. But with the script I have in the back end, it'll let them create the event and then enter the email, and it'll send them that email with the information, and they can continue off TikTok. And that way it doesn't ban you from creating the event.
And this is, again, like, this isn't some crazy complicated thing. You just have to ask the agent. What happens is there's an API request that come in, and the server can see where that's coming from. TikTok can read all the HTML and the CSS and the page. And so they have a scrubbing algorithm in place. It's like, hey, if somebody's trying to like extract, them from this platform, we're going to like block that. And so you can just ask the agent to say, hey, put up a different UI for this use case, and it will detect that this link is coming from TikTok, or the traffic's coming from this link or whatever. And, give it different requests. You could do this for media queries based on the type of device they're using. You could do this based on the source of the traffic. You could do this based on an IP address. You could do this based on lots of different things. You just have to ask the agent. So again, this is one of those things where like knowing what to ask for, knowing how to ask the agent for the thing you want to accomplish is very important. You don't necessarily have to know all the intricacies about how that works, but you do need to know how to ask for it.
Yep. So like here, this is what they see on TikTok. Normally it would have you sign in or create an account with Google or Apple. The TikTok flow specifically only has you put your email in and send you an email. That's it. You don't create your account on there.
Got it.
Awesome. And TikTok likes that. Perfect.
Yep. They let it go.
Amazing. Hey everybody, drop a couple of comments here. You're dropping some gems. Drop gem emojis in the chat for Elias. Man, so cool, sharing with us all these great tips. Go follow him on YouTube. I'm gonna subscribe right away, and go download the app. You're targeting
Thank you.
Go download the app, guys. Let's give these Elias like a really good bump here. And I think it's important to note you're marketing towards brides, but there are like
it's
other
been used
use
for
cases, right?
it's been used for birthday parties. I saw someone do graduation parties because that's coming up. I got a bunch of graduation, retirement parties, baby showers. So a bunch of events are being made on there right now.
Gems in the chat for Elias. Awesome. Go download the app, everybody. Go check it out. Support Elias. And Elias, you need anything else from us aside from 10K and Replit credits?
Maybe one of those, we all want that.
You want one of these? All right, we got to get one to Elias, man. We got to get some merch to Elias, man. All right. Well, thanks so much, Elias. Thanks for coming on the show.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
All right. Oh no.
Let me remove.
I hope I don't fall. It's,
isn't that crazy?
It's so cool to be able to like talk and again, for the folks who stay, the alpha always drops, right? The folks who kind of make it towards the end of these things, when we get like it becomes like deep. And so yeah, it's so cool to get a chance to talk with folks all the way from connectors to security to builders and kind of seeing like full spectrum Replit, right? You got internal, you got security, you got connections to different things, and then you've got like people that are actually building with the product and showing you, hey, how to take this to the next level, how to make some money with the stuff. And so yeah, super cool to just get a chance to talk about all this stuff.
I don't know. I mean, I get so pumped when I see folks that are just taking action. We talk about this all the time around distribution, marketing. Like, yeah, now it's easier to build. Great. But man, here we have Elias like hustling, taking advantage of the stuff that we're putting out there, the agent free for 24 hours, the build-a-thon community, the Discord, and to go out and like actually implement it and do it like really cool. Come back to us and share tips from like I'm learning stuff. I'm like writing stuff like left and right. Is amazing. Isn't that crazy?
Well, and I think maybe that's what makes these probably like watchable a little bit. We talked about exactly how the TikTok like we don't just sit here and like Replit, like there is a lot of product stuff, but I think it's a lot of like, and this is where at least my framing, it's like I want to know about the thought process, I want to know about the philosophy, I want to know about the industry, and so hopefully these things get to a point where like, yeah, the video is good to watch, but also maybe people just want to always listen in to just catch up, on like, here's the perspective of the industry, here's how things are evolving, here's the people that are making money with this tool. And so like, again, as we introduce you to like more people on the team, more people from the community, more partners and different things like that, that's really where the value add is going to come on this. It's like, sure, the product stuff's great, but you can get that on the product page. Like, yeah, the docs and the learning and that stuff, whatever, like that's cool. I think what's really kind of growing here is these connections and these personal relationships that we're building, even though we don't get a chance to like see and talk with you in real time. That's where the office hours comes in. That's where the Discord comes in. That's where these chat comes in. And so like, I really just think that as this evolves, we're all growing, we're all upskilling. And I think genuinely, Manny, you and I, like when we get to interview somebody from the team, like last week at SaaStr, where we talked with Amjad and Michele and Ghazi and Peter came back, and just any of the folks, like it's genuinely interesting for us, right? To like go and ask them like, hey, what is this that you're doing? Or like, how are you thinking about this? Because like, we're also curious. And so hopefully we just kind of become, good stewards for you all as a community to like ask the right questions and bring you the right people. But yeah, this is cool.
The way I see it is like we're like the booster, we're the cheerleaders. I see like our job is like we're cheerleaders of all of you and what you're building. And so when we see you do something like this, it's like so awesome. Like I just can't wait like to like go and promote it and tell everybody. Like you'll see Amjad also retweet some of these announcements as well. Like we're all just like so like happy to see you building and seeing success with Replit.
Speaking of success.
Bullhorn, hit that bullhorn, dude. Let's go, Elias.
We need a cha-ching.
That's what we need, dude.
We need like the bullhorn is like, okay, but the cha-ching would be like again the Replit revenue bump. Come on the live stream, let's make it real.
The Replit revenue bump has begun. Like didn't even finish the stream. Like boom, $50 right there.
Yeah, one more. Okay, so we'll end. I just said we don't self-promote too much, but here we are. If you're using Replit and spending more than $100 a month, go get that pro plan. If you're spending more than $100 a month on Replit usage and you're not on the pro level plan, you are missing out. Again, it seems intimidating, $100 plan, but it's not a typical SaaS. You're not just kind of paying $100 to have access. You're basically prepaying for $100. So if you're spending $100 a month in Replit usage. Go get on that Pro plan. Go get access to the Pro Discord channels. Go get access to all the benefits that come with Pro. There's premium support. There's all sorts of little things that come with that. If you're serious about building a career in this stuff, you really need to, I think, make that investment in yourself. And again, we talk about the Replit revenue bump. We always have people, after we say that, go and upgrade to Pro. So again, thank you for supporting the community. Thank you for supporting us. This is like super cool just to be on the front edge of all this as you start seeing percolate. And I can just imagine, again, 6 months from now, it's going to be harder to get into this. A year from now, it's going to be harder to get into this. So this is your signal that like now is the moment to really be diving all in on this. You said, Manny, Rhymar's all in. Like this is it at the beginning of the stream.
All in. And Elias hopping on YouTube, still dropping value. That's right. When you use your Amex card in Replit, you'll get credits back to Amex from Amex. So do that. And then also Stripe, now you're getting Replit credits when you monetize via Stripe. So I don't know. It's so much fun. This is great. I'm so pumped about this.
Even this year, hold up. Next stream, dedicated distribution, please. We want to listen to experts. Listen, there are no experts in this game that's being played right now. Everyone is learning in real time. There are people that are like good at like generating attention on the internet, but that doesn't mean they're good builders. And there are people that are good builders that maybe don't have this. So like get this word expert out of your mind. We are in an era, there are no textbooks on this. There's no like prior art for a lot of this. Like we're making it up. It's all being invented in real time. We talk about that all the time on the stream. So yes, like look at the experts and the people who are leading the charts, but also like experiment, right? Mm-hmm. More and more than anything, consistency, high quality, right? Taste, and a little bit of insider knowledge. We talk about pick a niche, pick something that's, you know, very focusable. You can always expand, right? I could imagine Elias is doing weddings right now. He could easily start a whole nother TikTok channel for graduations and for funerals and for whatever other special life moments happen. And each one could be its own dedicated TikTok channel, distribution, whatever. And he could have 20 of these different things kind of happening on the back end. So again, yeah.
I would say watch people like Elias. Also, like we had our content challenge winners that came on, and we were talking all about content. And I would watch him for two things. Like obviously, like Elias is dropping some gems, so helpful. Go watch the replays of our content challenge winners. They're dropping some huge gems, like super tactical, helpful stuff. But more than anything, you should see them as an inspiration. Elias, like he's got a 9 to 5. He did it over the weekend. He's cranking on it like in the morning before he goes to work. We had other folks come on the show, like they're not expert software engineers, like they're starting all of this as well, and they're starting to get some early traction. So if they can do it, then you can do it as well. So I think it's about just setting the level of expectations and what's possible now. We're in a new world. Rhymar's point, there's no experts. There are people that are kind of making some progress. You should look at them and also just elevate the bar at which you think you can perform.
Yeah, just start thinking first principles here, right? When you think expert, don't think the person who's selling the course. That guy's not the expert, right? The expert is the person who's building the platform or somebody on their engineering team who's actively sharing about the thing they're building. That's where you go get the alpha from, because then you could learn that on TikTok, you can post once an hour and not be penalized. But on X, if you post it once an hour, you're going to kill your distribution, right? So on X, maybe you post 2 times a day max, 3 times a day max. Otherwise, you're going to start fading in the algorithm. Right. And so TikTok has a different surfacing algorithm. Facebook has its own surfacing algorithm. Instagram, like these platforms, all. So go find the expert knowledge on how do I tweak this algorithm. But that, again, may come from people who are doing it, or maybe some folks, again, at the company are sharing about these updates. And so you have to find, where can I get the front edge information about this thing? Sometimes that's an expert. Sometimes that's an insider. Sometimes that's an anonymous account who figured something out and they quickly let you know. But that may only be good. That nugget may only be good for a week before it gets shut down. And so again, everything's happening so quickly that you just have to like find your niche, find your vertical. You can't expect to like know everything about everything that's going on. And you just have to start churning and experiment.
Amazing. Okay. Well, anything else, Rhymar? Should we close out?
No, that's it. I think
I'm pumped, dude. I'm like, I'm ready to go jog 3 miles right now.
Go build that.
Let's go, man. I gotta go set up my TikTok. I've been avoiding TikTok. I'm like LinkedIn and X. But like, I gotta get on TikTok, I think, dude.
I kind of got a little Instagram game once in a blue moon, but it's like mostly personal stuff.
Right. So hard, right?
I know. And then X is like all Replit and this type of thing. And then everyone like TikTok. I'm like, oh shit, maybe I need to be on TikTok. But no, I don't need to be on TikTok. Like, no.
I'm so X native, dude. It's crazy, man.
LinkedIn
too.
LinkedIn
but
is the other
I'm
one
trying to
that's
do more
good.
Instagram.
I know. Yep.
Anyhow, but do what Elias does. Like pick the one platform that is going to work well for you and just like focus on that. niche it down, crank out a couple posts every day. Like just focus on that, right?
I think that's the good advice, right? Like I said, like I don't know, you don't need to be on all the platforms. Pick one, master it, be really good at that one. Don't try to be on all of the platforms all at once. Like that's just too much. Same reason you don't want to build every feature all at once. You want to build the feature people need, the feature people are going to pay for, and then start slowly adding out. Yeah. So anyway, I get that. That's a good takeaway in anything. Niche down, get very specific. We are in the era of not specialization, but like the era of creative generalist, but the product is specialized, right? And so you kind of need to have this broad view as a builder, as a creator, somebody who can do a little bit of media, do a little bit of distribution, do a little bit of building, doing all these things. But the thing you're building should solve a really specific thing, right? And so this is the era of creative generalists building very tightly focused products. That is like the sweet spot for you as a vibe coder, as anybody out there who's kind of thinking like, where do I start approaching and attacking these problems?
And it makes your life easier as a marketer. Like Elias just has to worry about one demographic, one user that's brides on their wedding day, and like he can crank out a whole bunch of the content. Imagine if you're like selling, I mean, dial moments available for everybody, but imagine if he was selling to everybody. He'd have to set up 10 different channels, 10 different distribution things. Like when you niche down, it also makes it easier to find those people, and it makes your life easier.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is such good advice. There's a lot of get-rich money schemes. Please be careful. I had a friend talking to me the other day, and he's like, I'm about to invest in this agent. The agent, like, is a trading bot, and it's like, going to make me so much money. And I'm like, okay, first of all, imagine you find a hole in the ground, and every day you walk by it, like you just walk this route every single day, and you find this little hole, and one day there's like a gold bar inside this hole. You reach down and pick it up, don't think anything of it, you just think you're lucky. The next day you walk by, there's another gold bar in the hole. And again, and again, and again. Would you tell anybody about that gold, that hole? Never, right? So if there's a strategy that somebody has about printing money online, they're never going to tell you about it. Like nobody ever would tell you about it until they've extracted all they can. And then it's like, let me show you what I've done. And then I'm going to charge you to follow this path that may no longer, like the bridge might have fallen out. That path may no longer exist. So again, you have to think about, what am I doing? What's my use case, and what is my path? A lot of these experts or people who have gotten there are selling their story, which is great. That is their path. If you want to learn about that path, that's great. But their path may not be your path. And so you have to think about, how can I apply my knowledge, my specific skill set, and build my own path moving forward? You can follow things and move, but again, finding that little niche, finding that vertical is really what's going to set you apart here.
Yeah, be careful out there, folks. And like, yeah, I don't know how you're gonna go up against Citadel and some of these like big high frequency trading shops.
Correct.
Great advice. Awesome. Well, thank you everybody. What a great show. Thanks for tuning in. Next week, we got a schedule for next week coming out soon. Just sign up for the Replit calendar invite, and be sure to join us next week.
You know what just occurred to me, Manny, before we go?
Yeah.
My last thought.
Yeah.
I'm seeing lots of gems drop today. Thank you all. Appreciate you.
Mm-hmm.
If I was in this community and I wanted to find like a really interesting way to stand out, I might start taking these episodes and clipping them up for people and posting some of that on my channel and sharing some of these nuggets that I thought was interesting with other folks. Or if I was featured, I'd cut my own clip out and start sharing that. That's a good strategy, right? Where again, you're now sharing the little nugget. You're the person where people find the thing. It doesn't just have to be our stream, but like any content as you find, like these are good things to start getting into. Maybe you don't want to create your own content, but clipping and kind of organizing other things or other resources for people is a really like viable path right now, being the curator, the tastemaker. And so you could find yourself in that role without having to create the content. You just have to kind of like, hey, this was really useful. I should share this with folks. And then again, if you tag me or Manny and it's us talking, like, of course we'll be like, oh my God, look, we're smart in this episode. Like, and so, right. So just again, like you got to play the game. You got to learn how to play the game a little bit for distribution. And yeah, we're playing a little, you play a little, we all meet in the middle, All right.
All working together. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. We'll catch you next week.
Bye, everyone.